3 wide. We look up to the flag stand. It's going to be your Morecast white flag. It's one more lap to go as Danny Cochran, Vincent Sora, and Jesse Thodak are your top 3 into turn 1.
Who's gonna make it back here to take the checker flag? It's gonna be anybody's game. It was a dead heat almost across the line last time. It was only 0.02 of a second separating our top 3. Let's see what it is this last time as they go down the back straight for the final time here tonight.
Vincent Sora going to be having help, currently leading the charge in the middle groove. Danny Cochran going to be on the inside. Another big surge on the middle groove, but here comes Jesse Thornton. Shelly's going to bump Cody Reed to the outside wall. Ryan Kelly's got to get to linked up with the 14. Bad bump for the 14. Vincent Sora, Danny Cochran, they look good. Who's going to drive down to the apron? Vincent Sora blocks once, he blocks twice. They're still wiggling back and forth, but it's Vincent Sora winning the Daytona 250 here tonight as it's Calamity. It's Carnage. It's the big one across the line. Reversal, top 8, they're on the old tires. Everyone else, 4 tires except for Chris Stitz. He took 2. Jones Paint and Designs 140 is back underway. A lot of wheel spin further on back, but here we go. Oh no, it's going to be seen. Noah Steele, that's Travis. It's going to be Downing trying to hold steady as they're faltering backwards. Up front, great launch for also going to be Larry Yingling and Cody Reed, but your trouble is Danny Cochran's the one that blitzed on through. The 0-2 is on the charge, and he's the first one with fresh tires.
And he's going to quickly catch up to Larry Yingling. What's he going to do? He's going to split the middle here, but Yingling's going to slide up the track. He's going to have the lift.
He's blocking him. Oh, they're forcing the outside. Down to the inside. Cochran's wrecking. Right in front of Kelly. Oh, no. Jared Tolbert breaks through. The big one. Everyone's piling in. Oh, the madness. Oh, no. And everyone's in it. The only ones that made it through was our top 4. Everyone else got a clip of this one. With 3 to go, this is it. Crown a champion. Our first attempt at overtime. Who's taking it here at the end? If we get a yellow on lap 1, we head to overtime attempt number 2. But let's see if we can keep it clean and green. Already going to be seeing drivers going to be side by side, 3 wide deeper in the field. Up front's going to be seeing Jared Talmadge, Vincent Sora, and Talmadge is getting pushed by Thomas Green. Green is forcing the 27 to the lead position. Here we go, Zach, out of 2.
That was huge for Talmadge because Vincent Sora got the restart of his life, stayed side by side, but the 3's push is what propelled him to the lead. But now the 3 looking to the inside. He wants that 3rd victory, and we're going to see some fireworks here, guys.
Christopher Norris going to be back in 9th place, but up front, it's going to be Jared Talmadge looking up to the flag stand. It's your one more lap to go from Morecast, and it's all spreading up to the outside. Yingling's out of this. It's Vincent Sora's championship to grab, but Christopher Norris is back in 7th place. Off the exit of turn number 2, Jared Talmadge. Do you have everything, or will Christopher Norris find some type of wicked speed? Right now, it looks like the 38 is nowhere to be found. Jared Talmadge fought, clawed, and will win here at Vegas. The wrecking behind, but Vincent Sora, take your championship. You're back hoisting the crown. The 15 is your Trinity Racing League Season 1 champion. Before we get to the racing action of the Trinity Racing League Season 3, let's say thank you to some of the amazing sponsors. First and foremost, the title sponsor of Larry Arts Production. We also want to say thank you to SimSam, Blazing Fast TV, Premier Racing Setups, Orchid Ink Tattoo Studios, and finally, Team Watson Racing Setups. Thank you so much for all the sponsors. Now let's get to the racing action. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Monday night. Tonight, we give you the coverage of the Trinity Racing League, presented by Larry Arts Production. Season 3 has had a lot of ups and downs. In the last couple of weeks, the drama has been ramping up in the background, from on track to out in the Discord. Drivers have been mad, they've been upset, and tonight, it's either gonna completely implode, or we might see some drivers finally barely hatch it and get ready for some great racing action. Been a fun one these last couple of weeks. Got to see Vincent Sorgan into victory lane at Las Vegas last week. 2 weeks ago was Alan Elwood into victory lane. But tonight, it's a question of, will it be someone new, or are we going to see the same names and faces dominating throughout this race? It's going to be a chaotic one here this evening. 42 drivers have registered in. Now, that's not going to be any knockout qualifying to see who's en route. We're 2 drivers away from seeing that. But tonight, going to be one that you don't want to miss as we get ready for the One Cold Night in Richmond, sponsored by CSR Refrigeration. We're excited for tonight's coverage again on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me this evening will be Zach Hall. And Zach, the last couple of weeks, the drama in the background has been just ramping up more and more and more. But man, tonight, I'm scared this could be the implosion of a lot of drivers' seasons, of it ending in frustrations boiling over.
You talk about boiling, Sam. It's definitely been boiling. It's been bubbling. It has been definitely steaming to this point. I'm interested to see, like you said, does it kind of implode here tonight, or do we see it kind of get brushed to the side? Because there's a lot of changes, a lot of discussions, a lot of drivers really passionate about their feelings, a lot, different things being said. So it definitely was an interesting past few weeks here at Trinity. But sometimes that's how you gotta mold yourself and continue to grow as a league. So we'll see how it works out. Of course, like you said, 42 cars signed up here tonight. It is going to be wild when we drop the green flag to see that immense amount of cars, and it's going to be a logjam.
It certainly can be. 2 drivers will be entering in tonight with penalties after last week's race from Las Vegas. Mark Labertone as well as Danny Cochran. Both were given an L1 penalty, which is a start at the end of the line to start the race off, as well as a drive-through penalty on top of that. So both drivers gonna have a rough start to this evening's race, but it's gonna be 170 laps here from Richmond. Means these drivers, I know some have been practicing quite heavily to get this qualifying speed and also race trim set up. There's just other drivers, this is just their favorite tracks. Some of those drivers to watch out for: Vincent Sora, Gavin Rogers, Thomas Green. Those drivers have been just naturally quick whenever we come to Richmond. But I'm looking at some of the fast drivers that are inside of our top 5 in top speed from practice so far. Ollie Fonseca, Cody Reed, Ethan Smith. We're seeing Blackjack. This is kind of the Blackjack of old from a couple of years ago. Looking quick here tonight inside of the top 5 in speed.
It's definitely great to see great practice speed. That's always what you want to, kind of build the confidence off of that practice time sheet. But you got to be able to replicate it when we go in the qualifying. So it's going to be fun when we have these 45 seconds that we have remaining here in this practice session end. These drivers are going to be on the peak level of pressure for tonight, knowing this could be their opportunity to set themselves up for a great opportunity tonight, or put themselves in a long uphill climb through the gauntlet here at Trinity.
And as practice comes to a conclusion, a late entry. We will have 43 drivers attempting to make it into tonight's race. Eddie Donahue making a late appearance. Now, Eddie does have a carryover penalty from Michigan, so we'll see if the 4, how well that's going to be influencing here tonight. But as we're coming to the close of practice, it's about to be qualifying time. The Trinity Racing League has had plenty of different drivers find themselves into getting the pole position, but 2 have been able to do twice this season. Alan Elwood, Gavin Rogers, both with 2 poles so far this season. The other drivers that have found themselves grabbing a pole, Cedric Hunter and Jackson Anderson. And we're not expecting to see Jackson Anderson for a while. He has left the Discord server. We'll see if he makes a return to the Trinity Racing League later on in the season. But Zach, when you look at the field, we've got 43 drivers. There's no knockout qualifying. All 43 can race. But man, it's about to be chaotic as we get ready for qualifying.
The nerves. I know this as a driver. It is very much the time where you're worried. You're sitting there thinking, how do I do the best I can? And one of the things I really like that they do here at Trinity is we start with a clean track in practice. They build up the laps. Everybody practices around. You see the rubber really build up during the practice session. So you kind of get that, race feel of how the track's going to change. But then right when we go back to qualifying, they clean the track completely back off. That is where now you're going to have a completely different balance to your race car. There's going to be more speed and more grip out there because of that rubber taken up off the track. Now let's see who can put the laps together, because it's easy to make that one simple mistake that, could be a tenth of a second, a half a tenth, but that could be 10, 15 positions here in this league.
It certainly can be. All drivers will have 2 laps to put down their fastest time, 5 minutes to do so. You touch the outside wall, the inside wall, or the grass, your lap could be invalidated. And here we go. First lap's already clocking in, and it's Nicholas Renner with a 22.383 on their first lap. Going to be taken over by Trenton Jump, but expecting lap 2 to be the faster time of our 2 laps as Trenton Jump, a 22.054. That's a decent first lap to have. We'll see if a fast first lap is going to correlate to a fast second lap, as Renner able to bounce his way up on his second lap to second place.
Great lap for Renner there to jump up to second right in front of Ryan Bird, who is coming by to complete his second lap. Couldn't find enough pickup for Bird. He'll stay third, but just not enough time there to jump up ahead. Look at Joshua O'Brien. He jumps up in the 48 up to the third position. As I say that, Garcia in the 50 does. So right now, the board's going to be ever changing as drivers continue to put fast laps in.
And now Clint Cox could be up to third. Samuel S. Garcia, a good time, up to fourth place. Still over half the field still needed to put their first lap times in. But currently, it's Trenton Jump with a 22.054. Fastest lap from practice was a 21.996 from Ali Fonseca. The second fastest was Cody Reed with a 22.011. So that's still faster than what Trenton Jump put down so far. We'll see if anyone can top the leaderboard as Cedric Hunter, past pole sitter award winner. The 7 machine, 7 1,000ths of a second off of Trenton Jump's time. He's got to find a better pickup, but that's a good first lap to have to be in second place.
Definitely a great first lap. We'll see if he finds some pickup. Maybe a little bit of heat in the tires will be better for some, but he does not. Cedric Hunter, he goes about 3/10 slower than his first lap. As you see Stitz there, he comes to a quit after his 2 laps. He's going to be 9th on the board because Gavin Rogers, great qualifier we've known, he's up to the pole position for the time being.
I was talking with Gavin. He really was curious if he was going to be one of those favorites. I was talking to him after last week's race. I was like, I don't know if you're going to be one of the favorites. And he's like, this is one of my better tracks. Watch out. And he just proved me wrong with a 21.925 quick time, over a tenth of a second faster than second place runner of Alex Fuller. Ali Fonseca, though, he rallies on up to second place for the 24 team. Good time for himself, but still 1/10 off. Quick time from Gavin Rogers, and we saw this last Thursday with 802 Elite Racing League. There's just some drivers that really have figured out qualifying here at Richmond.
That they really have, and you've seen it here from multiple drivers now that they're, first lap was a little bit faster, and then other drivers, it was their second lap. Rogers, it looks like, and Fonseca, both doing their fast laps on lap number 2. So giving up speed on that first lap seems to be the way to go. It looks like Vincent Sawyer, who are riding on board, he's done the same, 22.56. That's 33rd on the board, but I watched him. He was going easy through the corners and trying to build a big run for this lap. Let's see what he can do off of turn 4, because he's going to need a 21 if he wants to get up to the top, whereas Ryan Kelly does up to second.
Ryan Kelly going to be 6 100ths of a second off the time. Vincent Sora going to be 24 1,000ths of a second off of the pole time. So start to find some sneaky speed. Another driver to note to watch out for, Jared Talmadge on lap number 2. Can he find the pole speed as Larry Yingling cracks the top 5 up to 4th place? Thomas Green going to be up to 7th, but Jared Talmadge again is the driver of note. Will he find any extra speed as Alan Elwood? Will he be top of the board? And it's close, but it's up to 3rd.
That was a great lap from Elwood. I love what he did there in 3 and 4. Was able to really get the left front right on the yellow line. Carried great speed, and it looks like Jared Talmadge will find a little more pickup on his second lap as he jumps into the top 5, pushing Larry Yingling to 6. But man, what an intense qualifying session. But Gavin Rogers on top of the board.
We do have a couple of drivers having some connection issues. Ryan Boucher, one of those drivers, he's been having issues since practice. was not able to collect a time into qualifying, and also Joshua Sawyer misfired on his first lap, was not able to get that lap validated, and did not attempt for lap number 2. So those are the 2 of our 43 drivers that did not set a time. Everyone else tried. And now all that's left is race time, as we've got warm-ups here for the next 5 minutes to let us take a deep dive of how the season's been so far. It's been a fun one for these first 6 races. Well, let's bring up the point standings, because there's some drivers still, I'm shocked, 6 races in, and it's Ollie Fonseca, Cody Reed, 2nd and 3rd. They've really found their consistency, and they're smacked right in between the Elwood Designs Motorsports drivers of Alan Elwood and Clayton Montgomery. Before we start to see some familiar names, we know that could be up front of Jared Talmadge, also Joshua's going to be Stovall and Larry Yingling. But all eyes, again, that cutoff line. There are still a lot of fast drivers outside of our top 16.
Definitely. So you see Presley Sora, he moved up 1 spot into 15th from that cut line there at 16th, but it was Michael Miller who moved up 5 into the cut line. So, or below this cut line in 16th. So that is great to see for him. But again, there's so many strong contenders. Look at the pole sitter, Gavin Rogers in 20th. You got Vincent Sora there, 19th with 2 wins. And also Nick Crawford, a past, winner in the series. He's in 22nd. So definitely a lot of strong contenders still with a lot of, still with enough time to get going. But it is going to be intense to see who's fighting in and out, because the 16 we got in there already are so tough to beat.
They certainly are, and finding the consistency has got to be the key thing for these drivers as we move from the point standings to take a closer look at how the schedule's been so far. Again, 6 races in, and here's how the races have found themselves. Alan Elwood's able to get the pole the last 2 races. Not going to be the case here this evening for the three-peat, but we've got plenty of great racing action after here at Richmond, Chicagoland, the Milwaukee Mile, before we go international road course racing at Spa, then Nashville Superspeedway, Talladega, before we find ourselves at Rockingham, being the last race of the regular season before we have the 5-lap dash, the 5-race dash to see who will be the season 3 champion. But Zach, when you look at the schedule, what's a couple of the tracks that's kind of like peeking up to you of those to watch out for?
I'm really interested when we go, of course. We have Chicagoland next week, it's going to be awesome, but I think those next 2 are going to be really crazy. A Milwaukee Mile, just a bumpy, old style, flat, long, straightaway, short track style racing course. So I'm interested to see how they go there, and there's a past history for sure in this group of drivers at that track. And then Spa, whenever you go to Spa to stock car, I think that's going to be extraordinary. So can't wait to see that. But man, I think you got a wild mix of tracks before we go to that 5-race chase, where I think it gets a little bit more in the wheelhouse of most drivers.
As that is going to be your schedule, but we've got racing action ahead of us. And who are some of the drivers of those to watch out for? I'm going with the oddball pick, but I think because of what I saw from practice, he's going to be my driver to watch out for. My pick here tonight is Cody Reed. I talked to Cody. He said, you should pick me. Watch out what happens. I'm picking you, Cody. Let's see what you've got here tonight. But Zach, who do you have as a driver to pick here this evening?
I was doing the same, watching a little bit of practice, and I'm going to have to go with the past champion, the 3 of Thomas Green. He's had a few up and down week because he had to come back from that penalty last week. Now this week he's going to try to start from where he qualified. Let's see what he could do. I think he's one of the drivers definitely to watch.
And then our 3rd member of our crew being Robert Moyer Jr., and he's picking Ollie Fonseca. I was thinking about picking Ollie, but Ollie told me when I was talking to both Ollie and Cody, he said, don't pick me. I don't want to put that bad curse on him, but Robert will. So Ollie, good luck. You are part of the pick'ems, as that will be our 3 drivers of note to watch out for. There's still plenty of other fast drivers. There's probably about 10 to 15 other drivers that have an opportunity to win here tonight. Let's see how well they can perform, as we've got 45 seconds left here in the warm-ups. Zach, this is our time that you give us our key moments to watch out for.
Definitely some key moments to watch out for here at Richmond, Sam. In my opinion, I think with tonight, with how many cars we got, number 1 is going to be really, really critical. Avoid the chaos of the restarts. When we drop this green flag, watch these drivers go at it. We've seen it at Michigan. We've seen it the weeks before. They're willing to go 5-6 wide. Here tonight, watch them into turn 1. It could get a little bit crazy. Next thing, do not overheat the tires if you're those drivers out there. You can do it on both tires too. It's not just the rears here at Richmond. You can overheat those fronts, and you can struggle in both ways. So I think that's going to be critical if you want to have a great race car for a longer run. And then, of course, When we come to these short tracks, I think especially here at Richmond, where you have two especially different entries of the corner, you need to fine tune that brake bias. So that is the tool that these drivers are going to have in this race car. They're going to be go up and down on that all night long, trying to find the right balance of how those brakes want to react for them.
And those are going to be your key moments. Hey, another added pick. That's going to be Rev out in chat, giving us a super chat of $10. We appreciate that so much, Rev. His pick, the 18 of Nicholas Renner. Hey, Renner could shock us here tonight. Like I said, there's about 15 guys that might have an opportunity to get into victory lane. But let's meet the cast of drivers that are going to be racing here this evening. Again, I said 43 are going to be attempting here tonight. I believe it's going to be 42 that are going to be racing, as Ryan Boucher is having some network issues. But top of the board, give himself a pole. It's Gavin Rogers finding himself with the third pole this season. The 75 looking quick. To his outside will be Vincent Sora. Behind them in row number 2, we find in third place the 9 of Alan Elwood and Ryan Kelly. Then in row number 3, we find ourselves with Jarrett Talmadge, Larry Yingling in 5th and 6th. 7th and 8th is Ollie Fonseca and Alex Fuller. And finishing out our top 10, it's Thomas Green and Trenton Jump.
Starting in 11th, it's going to be Zachary Wake. In 12th, it's going to be the 00 Ethan Smith. Danny Cochran with the penalty is going to start in 13th. Cedric Hunter will be in 14th. 15th is going to go to Cody Reed with Nicholas Renner in the 16th position. 17th is going to go to Clint Cox. 18th is going to be Samuel Garcia. 19th, Joshua O'Byron. And rounding our top 20 is Nick Crawford.
In 21st, we find the 17 of Chris Stitz with the 98 of Isaac Shelley making a grand racing return here in that 98 machine. Ryan Bird going to be in the 49, starting in 23rd. 24th, we find Christopher Norris. In 25th, we find Presley Sora in the 09. Joshua Stovall starting deep in the field in 26th position for the 77. Watch out for how he recovers to go forward. Also with a penalty, that's going to be started at the end of the line for the 42 of Mark Lapertone, as well as a drive-through. In 28th, we find the 99 of Michael Miller. In 29th, it's Trevor Binns. And finishing out our top 30, it's the 57 of Thomas Walter.
31st is going to be Joshua Kanata. Aaron Kralik is going to start in 32nd. 33rd is going to be Chris Stamper with Jesse Thornock starting in 34th. Stephen Clapp going to start in 35th. And Matthew Pavlik in the 30. He's going to start in 36th. 37th is going to go to the 47 of Dalton Hayes. Richard Wolsifer, he's going to start back in 38th. 39th is going to be Tanner D. Johnson. 40th is going to go to Austin Halsey. We're going to have the return of Eddie Donahue here tonight. He'll start in 41st with also a into the longest line penalty and drive through. And then we saw Ryan Boucher there having the issues with connection. We'll see how long he can last in 42nd here. And rounding out our 43 cars here tonight, Sam, is Joshua Sawyer.
Joshua Sawyer all the way back in 43rd, but he'll have a little bit of company shuffling to the back again. Danny Cochran, Mark Labertone, and Eddie Donahue all have to go to the end of the line, as well as all three of those drivers have a drive-through penalty to serve. Not racing here this evening, asking for provisionals was Clayton Montgomery, also Martin Morales. So those two were expected not to show up here this evening. The rest of the field, they're ready for racing action. It should be a good one here tonight. Again, as well, we want to say thank you to all the amazing sponsors before we go to Green Flag Racing, being Larry Arts Production, Blazing Fast TV for being our pole sitter and grid sponsor, SimSam for the halfway bonus sponsor, Premier Racing Setups for the caution flags, Orchid Ink Tattoo Studios for replays, and for the white flag sponsor being Team Watson Racing Setups. We'll give a little bit more in-depth read-alongs with them. But we love to see you out in chat. We already have Rev picking Nicholas Renner to watch out for. We just had a Gavin Rogers shout out. Who else are you in the chat if you're able to rooting for this evening? Because it should be a good one. 43 drivers hit the track here from Richmond. Race number 7 about to be underway, and we know it's gonna have a drama-filled evening. Pace car is off, and it's time for the one cold night in Richmond, sponsored by CSR Refrigeration, to be underway. It's Rogers, Sora, and the rest of the field roaring down into turn number 1.
Excellent start for that outside groove there. Sora times the green well, and he's going to stay side by side here off of 2. And on this first lap, we're going to continue the battle for lead here down in the 3 and 4.
Down into 3 and 4, everyone else side by side trying to find your footing. The cold tire is going to be an issue for these first couple of laps, and already a big slide middle of the pack as they were exiting out of turn number 4. But at lap number 1, Rogers and Sora still fighting side by side. Rogers does not want to give up this lead position, knowing how critical it is to stay up front But if a caution flag is timed right, Vincent Sora could have the lead. And here we go off the exit of turn number 4, still battling side by side.
When Roger's going to have to give in here, he just couldn't get the exit through off of 4. Got a little bit of pinch from the 15 on the outside and could not get the drive off. And Rogers fought hard there, and I'm not surprised. You know, you're willing to go a little bit of tire life there to fight, to try to hold that lead, because you know just being out front here, the clean air allows you to save the tires that much better. Vincent Sora now in control of the race. And you see back here, Fonseca, the first one, taking it to the rest of the field. He's back here in 7th. It's 3 wide. Is this going to have Alex Fuller up top? And they're going to be racing hard here.
And as they've been racing hard, lap 1 issues on the back half of the field. Trouble for Aaron Kralik, Matthew Pavlik, as both drivers require damage for the 01 in the 30 machine. As when they took off, Aaron Kralik, I believe, had a mechanical error. The screen might have went dark, but just ran right into other drivers that were restarting, and heavy damage for the 30 as well as for the 01. A couple of other drivers, heavy damage. They're going to need to get a caution here quickly to get those damage repaired. But up front, this is a big thing for the field. They are in line and giving each other plenty of space as Eddie Donahue sends himself off of pit road to get service done.
Yeah, we've seen a few of those guys serve those penalties, and all those drivers who did that did go a lap down. Looks like Cochran and Labertone following in about the rear of the field. Donahue, he's going to lose 2 laps in that situation. But look at this great racing here. Yingling up top. He's looking to go around Elwood. Same for the 27 of Talmadge, as you got the 3 of Thomas Green in the background fighting with the 45 of Fuller.
Find your way to move forward. I know another thing, with the aero package, so hard to make passes once everyone gets their tires warmed up, and also the clean air factor that our leaders have. And Vincent Sora loving the fact that he's up front and working with what he's got so far, as Fuller, as well as seeing a couple of other drivers side by side trying to find their way past each other. But now they're battling for 2nd place. Ryan Kelly taking an opportunity to go for a pass here.
Yeah, Ryan Kelly, always a great driver at Richmond. Not really a driver that you're like, man, he's a short track ace. But this is one of the short tracks I look at that Kelly has had success at in multiple different divisions, multiple different cars. I think he could be a huge factor again tonight as the tires start to wear out. But look at his teammate, Larry Yingling. We know what he's willing to do. He is willing to get out front, lead laps, and not worry about the tires, and just kind of hope that they're going to hang on. It's hurt them before in the past, but sometimes this can be the right call, especially at some of these short tracks where track position can be so critical.
I mean, this whole entire Thunder Valley Seal Coat Racing team has really been strong. A new additive to them, Jared Talmadge also in the mix. All 3 of those drivers in line of Yingling, Kelly, and also seeing that 27 of Talmadge, and just seeing the mixed battles of who can find their way to move forward, as Thomas Green as well as Vincent Sora and all of the drivers that are under the CSR banner are rocking some new schemes here tonight. That being Danny Cochran, Presley Sora, Thomas Green, as well as Vincent Sora, all having their schemes changed up. And Zach, it's always fun when you see a full team coming out as a unit under the same banner when they're sponsoring a night. And right now, Vincent Sora trying to hold strong, but Yingling on the outside, just muscling his way to the lead.
Definitely muscling his way to the lead for sure. Is right now Sora, I think, on the bottom, content with just kind of working the tires slowly, and he's not going to try to fight him too hard. He knows Larry Yingling is really driving hard at this moment to get the track position. We'll see again how long it is before it bites the 67, or does he have a plan and a strategy up his hand? Is right now it's funny to watch. We got our front grouping here of about 6-7 cars all racing different grooves. If you look farther back, most of the field is pretty much single file, as there's a few cars starting racing a little bit farther back, but most of the guys have been in single file.
Yeah, it's more so around that 20th position. 15th to 20th place is where a lot of guys in the mid-pack are starting to race back and forth. Clint Cox, Samuel S. Garcia, Cedric Hunter, as well as seeing O'Brien getting into the fight with each other, as well as up front, staying side by side. And then you go further back of that, and they're still pretty much single-filed out until you get to the battling outside of the top 30, which the battle outside of the top 30, Zach, at times, is some of the best racing on track. Those guys, they are fighting to prove that they are not the slowest driver on track, and sometimes it gets them in trouble. But again, up front, this is where the side-by-side racing continues the show here at Richmond, recognizing the clean air is so important.
That they do, and this is Thomas Green and Jared Talmadge racing side by side as again it continues the lead battle continues on even on side by side. So again, everybody here just kind of racing each other, trying to get positioning on one another, and that's what really kind of fuels this racing like this side by side. Is you see people who are trying to kind of manage their stuff while others are trying to go around and utilize the tires. So it is always fun to watch this, but again, 16 laps into this run, if we continue on for a good bit, these guys are going to feel the brunt of really driving hard, especially on that outer groove there. You got to really attack it to carry the speed.
Yingling continuing to fight and finally gets clear for the lead position. But instead of defending the inside groove, he stays to the outside, wanting to hold on to that run. So the 67 does not want to fully give up this outside spot. Feels like that is the better place to be running currently. We do want to give an update on some of those drivers caught up in the lap 1 incident between Eric Kralik and Matthew Pavlik. Both drivers officially out of this race. Ryan Boucher, with his internet connections, continues to drive in and out. He's been bounced out of the server a couple of times, currently 13 laps down, but is still trying to run as many laps as possible. As Eddie Donahue now has sent himself into pit road. As being 2 laps down, he might be calling it the race early. We'll wait and see what the Ford does in the next couple of minutes. But as the racing goes on, and I now can confirm Eddie Donahue has less, so that's another position that Boucher, who's having his connection issues, might be able to grab here if he's able to continue racing out on track. But Zach, already 43 drivers attempting. We're down to just 40 on track. And honestly, the field was nervous for those first 5 laps. Now that we're 20 laps in, what do you think the mindset of this field's got to be thinking about from here on out?
Now this is kind of where you're getting a little bit settled in, the run. So this is an interesting part. This is where you're starting to stay. All right, what do I need to do when it comes to utilizing the tires? Do I need to kind of ride here? Do I think this is my pace, or do I think I can go forward? That's kind of always the question you got to ask the drivers. Do what you want to do. And some of these drivers are going to be looking to push, but it's really hard to pass here at Richmond. You can see he's following on board with a few of these guys. You're just really looking to run that lower groove as much as you can. And when you can't find that clean air, you realize it is hard to be quick. We've seen it in qualifying. 0.2 of a second separated 23 cars. So it's just a really close field. You got to find as much grip as possible. And when you don't have that air, it's hard to do.
Still side by side. It's the battle for the lead. They've been like this for the past 15 laps, and just no give up from Larry Yingling or Vincent Sora, as now Thomas Green has been able to march his way up into that 4th place position and looking for an opportunity to get by the 13 of Ryan Kelly, as now it's 2 drivers on the outside, 2 drivers on the inside. And you're seeing the similar schemes of the CSR teammates trying to work as one, of Thomas Green and Vincent Sora. They continue to battle around. I know in chat got a fan rooting for NSR. That's Zachary Wake, Alex Fuller, and Joshua Bryan that continue to try to have their fun out on track. Alex Fuller currently going to be furthest up in 6th position. And there's Zachary Wake in the 39. Back in 13th spot, trying to find his way forward.
Now a lot of drivers trying to find their way forward for sure, as somehow the battle continues up front for the lead. We know those two have been side by side for an inordinate amount of laps. As even Ryan Kelly now, he's got the likes of Thomas Green, who's done a really good job. The 3 has worked his way up really considerably well from where he started back in P9. So he's one of the bigger movers in our top 10, so to say, from the starting spots. But man, he's got a good show because his teammate Vincent Sora and Larry Yingling, they've kept it side by side for this time. And 26 laps into this point, Yingling's holding on pretty well.
He certainly is. And also another driver that's moved up quite a few positions is going to be Super Chat fan of Rev, who's rooting for Nicholas Renner, currently up 4 spots, back in 12th position is where we find the 18 Monster Energy Machine, trying to find a way to move forward, as well as you find Ethan Smith right ahead of him in that 0-0 in 11th place, as they're watching Trent Jump, Alan Elwood battle side by side.
Great racing all around. Here's Nick Crawford trying to get up the inside of the 03 of Clint Cox. This is for a top 15 position. You got Cody Reed right ahead of them. As this right here is, again, this grouping is about 4 seconds back from the lead. That's crazy to say. It's 16th, and they're 4 seconds back, 30 laps into a run here at Richmond. It is just showing you again how close this field is when it comes to pace. Not many people falling away from the leaders.
Not falling away at all, but there is a lot of jam-packed racing that's happening here on screen. You got the 09 of Presley Sora, as well as lap down driver, the 44 Danny Cochran, both drivers on the teammates of the CSR, trying to make their way forward as efficiently as they can. But at this current time, Zach, it's just everyone's so stalled out. It's hard to make passes at this current moment in time, but we got to go back up to the lead position because they were almost 4 wide for a quick time. Going to be 3 wide, and it's Thomas Green. You blink and you miss it. The 3 machine able to go from 4th up to the lead position just like that.
Wow, and yeah, he got hard into the wall too, because he got late to the outside of the 67 of Yingling, who I thought was going to shove him into the pits, but I think it even spooked Thomas Green how far Yingling came up, but he actually left just enough space from the exit corner, but still a 3 gets into the wall pretty heavily, and you know, taking a look at it, it's really not damaging the car much. So more than anything, he's got track position, and Ryan Kelly, who was going for that lead in the bottom, he slides back to 3rd, and Yingling back to 6th.
Another driver trying to capitalize on some of these mistakes. It's the 45 of Alex Fuller, who was able to get ahead of Gavin Rogers, our pole sitter. Rogers, I mean, Zach, I thought maybe would fight a little bit harder to stay in that top position, but he is just being swamped with drivers passing left and right on the 75 Sundance machine, who now sits in 5th position.
Yeah, Gavin's kind of in position here, but I like what he's done this run. He's kind of positioned himself well. Yes, Fuller's got around him, but he is still right here very much close into the fight. He's got around Yingling. If he can get around Fuller, he's got a shot at Kelly, but the biggest thing I'd worry about, Vincent Sora, he's going to attack the 3 of Thomas Green up front. Do not let those 2 CRS teammates run away from the field.
Where will they place themselves also? You know, looking at Thomas Green as well as Vincent Sora, Sora's trying to pounce to get in that inside passing position, but I mean, if you got teammates in line, you kind of assume, hey, let's just work as one. You're the lead driver. Let's see if you can pull away from the pack, and I'll just follow you through. And it looks like that's kind of what they've gotten into here, as looking further on back is outside of the top 10. Seeing Nicholas Renner get contact from Clint Cox as they both go wide. And there's a little bit of an accordion effect. Everyone just closing in quickly, trying to hit the same amount of pavement and almost backfiring.
It definitely is closing in quick.
Oh, trouble ahead of him. It's Chris Stamper sideways and multiple other drivers on the backstretch going around in front of our leaders.
Whew. Yeah, that had some contact with it. So we'll have to see. I think he got hit, believe, by the 32 at Tanner Johnson when we go back and look at this. But this was a close moment for a few guys.
Very bizarre moment, as this will be our first caution of the day. And Zach, probably not the time you want to see a caution. 36 laps in. Now the question is, how many drivers want to come into the pit road to get their service done? As this is kind of the aftermath of the incident, as now the leaders come bearing down. But here's the contact, as it will be entering into turn number 1. You see Stamper get a little bit loose. That's giving time for the 32 to close in the distance. And here it goes, Zach, with Tanner Johnson just barreling down and getting right on the back bumper. I believe it's actually going to be next lap where we might see the incident pop up. But this is our Premier Racing Setups caution flag being thrown as we look at our Orchid Ink Tattoo Studios replay of our first incident.
And we'll see right here if this is the exact lap that he hits him, but there will be contact here made. I think this is the one here down to the corner. Yes, there it is. So contact in the center of the corner. Spins the 10 around, but look, this when he gets on the apron, as he tries to save it, shoots it back across. And the 19 of Joshua Sawyer, nothing he can do in that 19 machine. And yeah, that's tough. That's a tough ordeal, and Sam, nothing you can do there when the car's just shooting back to the right in front of you.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you're hoping if it's the 10, he'll lock it down and not try to save that into another driver. But it's one of those, you look back moments of how maybe you could save a car in the future, damage both for the 19 as well for the 10. And this also gives time for a couple of drivers to head into the pit road. Everyone making a stop, and a little bit of strategy call being made for a few. Larry Yingling taking 2 tires, same for Nick Crawford as well as Cody Reed, trying to take some track position with going with an audible call.
I like that call for a few of those guys, especially like Reed. I mean, it doesn't like it gained them too crazy much, which is crazy to say, but 10th and 12th is better than where Reed and Crawford were, I mean, Yingling, he'll be back to the front position. And sometimes even, depending on the balance of the race car, drivers can feel kind of good for just what you need. So we'll see again if that is what's going on. But here we go to choose Larry Yingling. He was definitely trying to catch him off guard there. He goes to the outside.
Yeah, taking a little bit of a gamble. And then see if this is going to work out, as that will split up the CSR teammates. Also, a little bit of an update on that lap 1 incident, as we will have a delayed restart, as a couple of drivers were a little bit parked for too long on the front stretch. So gives us an extra lap of pacing as the pace laps are back on. But an update on that first lap incident between Aaron Kralik and Matthew Pavlik. Got an update from Aaron Kralik. It was a money shift where he accidentally shifted down, and that's what caused him to shoot back up across the track and into other drivers that took out both Matthew Pavlik and Aaron Kralik from this race. Up front, though, again, everyone pitting for fuel tires, couple taking 2 tires. But I'm curious, Zach, on your thoughts on some of the drivers that didn't attempt to go for 2 tires, that are now trapped, mired a little bit further. Not seen Stovall, Presley Sora, a couple of those drivers that are just outside or around the cut line, not trying to get up immediately.
Yeah, I was kind of interested in that, to see what they would do with this, because, I mean, more or less, you're sitting there knowing that it's going to be hard to make these passes. The best place to pass is on pit road, and we'll see again what happens to the 3 that did take 2 tires here. But I think it'd be somewhat of a benefit. But again, that is 30-something laps on the left sides. We'll see how much of a detriment that is.
Time for us to get back to racing action. Yingling, Sora, and the rest of the field ready to go as we are green once again for the one cold night in Richmond, sponsored by CSR Refrigeration. And it's already seen a couple of those drivers going extremely wide. Ryan Kelly trying to go force it 3 wide for a quick moment. Not going to work out for himself, but the rest of the field side by side down in turn number 3.
Yingling not the greatest run through 1 and 2 as Odie Yellow's out quickly here.
Trouble further on back, and it's Richard Wolsifer in the 56 go for a spin. As he will bring out this caution. It looked to be a little bit of a self-spin from the 56 team. Just throttling it up a little bit too quickly off the exit of the corner and getting a little bit of help as they came out of turn number 2.
Such a common trend we see here at Richmond, man. This place, always a place that exit can be treacherous. It always seems like a track that you're having a lot of wheel in the race car when you're trying to put the power down, and that just leads to issues for traction. And I think when here you see the 1 and 2, Richard's going to go to commit to that gas, and when he does, the rear end steps out. Unfortunately, he can't hold on to it. I think it's the Tana Stamper there who's involved in that again, kind of clips him and finishes him off there as he hits that inside wall. But such an easy mistake to do.
It certainly is, as that will bring out our caution for the field. Stamper just nowhere to go as we're under our second Premier Racing Setups caution. If you're looking for the winning edge out on track for open setups, go check out Premier Racing Setups for dirt racing or oval racing. They've got you covered. Head on over to premierracingsetups.com today and use the promo code RENNER15. That's Renner with the number 15, RENNER, number 15, for 15% off on your next Premier Racing setup. Thank you so much for being our Caution Flag sponsor. We also want to say thank you to Orchid Ink Tattoo Studios for being our replay sponsor. Go check out some of the great tattoos from the Orchid Ink Tattoo Studios on their Instagram page for your one-stop shop for custom full-color tattoos, regular tattoos, stickers, prints, and more. Thank you again to all the amazing sponsors that have tagged on for Season 3 of the Trinity Racing League. Zach, quick cautions, the worry of Richmond, cautions breeding cautions. We didn't get that far into a run, so I'm now nervous. This could be the detrimental, worrisome caution that we could have here of a restart with these cold tires.
No doubt, Sam. It is always looking to brew up for sure at Richmond. You get those quick little bang yellows. Well, next thing you know, you got 6 or 7 on top of you, and you're like, what the heck? This has been very quickly happening, and it definitely won't be a good time at that point for anybody out on the track. So They're going to want to get it back going green here, keep it green like that so they can have some great racing, but it's easy to do. But I will tell you this, those 2 yellows were benefits, huge benefits to Danny Cochran. He goes back onto the lead lap, that previous one, and then this latest one, Mark Labertone got the lucky dog. So both of those 2 that got the penalties, they are back on the lead lap now.
Yeah, that was going to be the next thing I brought up, was the fact of they're now back on the lead lap. And now let's see what Danny Cochran has, who qualified 13th on the board, going to restart back in 32nd. And how much passing ability does the 44 have for himself? Because under the first stint of 40 laps, so we had Green Flag Racing, we didn't see the field really have themselves in a position where the 44 was attempting to make big passes. It kind of was just survival. Hope that you're not involved with the wreck, so you get the lucky dog spot. This is going to be the first restart. We really get to see what does Danny Cochran have for speed, and how quickly and efficiently can he drive through this field, as Yingling, Sora, Thomas Green, Gavin Rogers, as well as Alex Fuller are going to be your top 5, getting ready for this upcoming restarts. Lights are off. Again, thank you so much to everyone that's joining with us here this evening. My name is Sam Dyer. Up here in the booth, giving the call with me is Zach Hall. Running production in the background is Robert Moyer Jr., and we're so happy to give you the coverage of the Trinity Racing League presented by Larry Arts Production. This is race number 7, second restart of the evening for your one cold night in Richmond, sponsored by CSR Refrigeration. We're green once again, and it's the 67 Yingling on the outside. A very good launch for himself as they head down into turn number 1.
See if he's got the better drive this time, because last time just couldn't get that car turned and rotated through the corner. Does a better time, will clear Vincent Sora as they head off into turn 3. But again, that outer groove, that's where the 67 wants to be.
As they exit out of turn number 4, it's going to be seen Larry Yingling holding strong. And once again, I'm watching Yingling's laps and the way that he's entering the corners, he's not committing to that yellow line at all. And I'm shocked by that. He's now running just about a half a groove up, so not fully giving the inside lane away, but it is not a full commitment by that 67 team.
No, yeah, it is not a commitment for sure. He is really committed to that second, the first 1.5 group that's to the number 2 group, because he is not looking to get on that yellow line for sure, Sam. So he must feel more comfortable up there, and sometimes drivers do that just to have that better defensive play, so to say. So right now we're watching Jared Talmadge. He's got the battle in front of him. Ryan Kelly, but he can't look too far behind because Trenton Jump, he's starting to look to the inside.
Starting to see Trent Jump emerge his way into the fight here. It's going to be the double zero of Ethan Smith on the outside group with Zachary Wake to the inner side. And big wiggles all around. A couple of drivers, though. It's going to be Trevor Binns going for a spin in the background. And that's another caution being thrown as the 30 machine comes to a stop and takes the tow to pit road.
33 going around here, and I think he's going to make a little bit of a mistake here off of 2, and it's easy to do when you're racing side by side. I think he was racing side by side with Ryan Bird here, and yeah, you're going to see late traction brake loose for the 33, and he's going to spin there and nose it into that inside wall, and going to have to take a tow after that point. The damage, I think, to that car.
This is just one of those helpless feeling spins where the car just loses all traction. Even if you slam on the brakes, you slam on the gas, you're kind of just heading to the wall, and there ain't much you can do about it. In the 33, heavy contact, required damage, and that is race over for Trevor Binns. That is another caution being thrown, another restart, and Zach not expecting that many drivers unless you're all the way in the back to get repairs done, but everyone else expected to just stay out on track.
Yeah, with the continuous yellows like this, you're going to see a lot of people staying out and waiting. You know, with that first run, upwards of 35 laps, they were, in my opinion, no doubt going to come down with the amount of sets they had. So, no brainer there. This time, you're going to wait as long as you possibly can here with mini green laps to make this set matter something. Because, again, if you come put a set down right now, or another set on, you're not going to really see a benefit. I think these guys' tires are more or less in prime position with how many caution laps we've had, especially when it comes to a heat condition.
For this season, it's been a lot of talks. The last couple of races have come down to the tire situation. When do you want to pit to utilize a set? Because a lot of drivers were taking an extra set early on to try to find an advantage. Over this week, though, the league were having discussions on what are some small things that they could change to try to help the racing out in the long terms. And one of those was adding that extra set of tires. Now, Zach, I know tonight might not be the biggest change for having an extra set of tires, but I'm curious on your thoughts on the fact that now there really isn't that worry of I'm going to run out of set of tires for these races, on how that might change the mindset of taking a set early compared to later on in the race when you're trying to save as many sets as possible.
I think you're going to see a lot more drivers willing on that, first, quick yellow of the race, so to say, that's got a decent chunk of green laps. They're going to be willing to pit now with this new, setup of an extra set of tires. So we'll see how it works out. I think it will add in definitely less variability for the drivers, probably when it comes to the strategy. So that's what, a lot of drivers are feeling like this might be the way to go to kind of cause less issues where there's less mixed up bags, and we see those leaders restarting in the back and get in trouble.
Well, another quick caution. We might pull one of these drivers down and get a talk on how they're doing, but it's time for us to get back to green flag racing action for the Trinity Racing League. Nope, take it back. Not everyone's there. The admins decided we need to throw a yellow. Let's get this back set up because the back half of the field was not fully caught up. The choose has been a difficult zone, it looks like, for tonight here at Richmond, with pace speed being so slow, and with some of the late movements that are happening, drivers are actually coming to a complete stop during the choose, and that's kind of woeing up some of these drivers on how they take off and go. One driver, though, has to go to pit road, and that will be Chris Stamper, who the 10 machine gets a required damage flag blown engine for himself. It looks like he might have accidentally money shifted coming to the choose.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a hiccup, but we'll see. Now's we'll go back green this time.
All right, let's hope that we don't have another added lap, but we are back to green flag action. No more yellows needed for that run of pace laps. Instead, it's a fantastic launch for the 67 of Yingling, who's already fully clear. Going to be a first side-by-side for third place. Rogers, well as Thomas Green, battling it. Oh no, trouble behind. That looked to be Zachary Wake and many of other drivers piling in. There's Cody Reed, Clint Cox, and the back half of the field having to come to a halt.
Cautions, breed cautions, folks. And tell you what, this was going to be a moment of four wide racing here at Richmond, and you don't see that much, and I think that's kind of what led to a few drivers getting caught guard. Again, in iRacing, sometimes if you're using that base level spotter, you don't have like an eye in the sky, you don't get that four wide call, and I think this may have caused this issue here, Sam, because Cody Reed gets a huge drive up top, makes it four wide, but unfortunately it all kind of squeezes together as they exit off of two, and the Wake is the one that's going to take the brunt of it.
There's Alan Elwood. He forces it three wide. Then Cody Reed says, I think I might have opportunity. Bouncing it to the outside group. But four wide at Richmond, especially off the exit, is not going to work out. As Zachary Wake gets clipped, he'll send it his way to the outside. Cody Reed into Nicholas Renner. A couple of drivers able to sneak their way through. But man, oh man. Two drivers will require damage. That's going to be Isaac Shelley, Zachary Wake. And there is the second contact of drivers entering into turn number 3.
Well, yeah, some late contacts there for a few, but it looks like most of the later ones weren't as big as they possibly could have been. But yeah, man, this is a situation that kind of, arises a lot here at Richmond, when you have the racing that you got. So we'll ride on board with Christopher Noyes and get to see what he saw, because I know this was a very close call and a little bit of a hit there on the right front, I think, at one point, but that could have been so much worse for the 30A as he was flying through there.
I'm proud of you, Christopher Norris. You figured out you had a break there at the end. I know that was a nerve-wracking moment with all those drivers scattered away. It's so hard. Those short tracks, when a wreck happens, especially when it's a wall, there is not a lot of reaction time that you have to try to slow down in these wrecks, and some drivers were able to, others were not. And a huge wreck, 2 drivers most likely out of this thing of Wake and Shelley, but we'll see how much damage repair they're able to get done. But that was certainly a nerve-wracking one for majority of the field, as Yingling, Vincent Soar, as well as Green, Rogers, Fuller, still your top 5. And here we go, Zach, another opportunity of where do you want to place yourself?
And I think the issues, with the choose here tonight is mainly due to, you know, this track and its, you know, with the high amount of cars we also have. So when everybody's like that, it kind of makes things stack up a little bit more when more cars got to go across that line, and then they can't get caught back up. So looks like everybody trying to do the best they can, as we do have everybody already now at least completed the choose. It's just they're going to try to catch up here before 3 and 4. I think it should be good this time as they're all gathering up.
Gathering back up. A couple of the drivers further on back going to be using a set of tires. We'll see how well that's going to help them moving forward. But we are ready to get back to racing action here. One cold night in Richmond, sponsored by CSR Refrigeration, is underway. Yingling, another good launch for himself into turn number 1. Already going to be clear for that lead position. Thomas Green rolling the top. Gets a good acceleration, and he'll hold for third place. But this is certainly the fun of the evening, where we are closing in on the halfway zone of this race as multiple drivers out of this thing. Shelley, it's going to be Stamper, Trevor Binns, as well as Eddie Donahue, Eric Kralik, and Matthew Pavlik all out of this race. The rest of the field side by side, and it's battling back for 5th place.
Great battling, like you said, there is Jared Talmadge. He's going to have Fuller on his door, and you'll have Fonseca with Kelly racing him. Look at Stovall and Crawford. They're trying to wait their way up. And look, Crawford on those 2 tires, he made a really good call because he's been on position himself a good bit farther up here. It's almost very contact between those 2. They keep it great racing.
Couple of drivers blinking and a big scare over the driver radio of everyone freaking out for a second, but we continue to stay clean and green. But yeah, I got to give credit for Crawford. He's up, going to be 11 positions from where he started. Joshua Stovall up 16 spots from where they started. Both drivers outside of the top 20, and now with an opportunity to find themselves with a top 10 run so far, as Stovall, one of the more aggressive drivers, willing to utilize the bumper if needed. And Zach, I think here tonight we might see a Stovall bump and run as he inches closer and closer to that 74's back bumper.
He's looking to that inside, and you show that nose like that down the straightaway, that kind of alludes to the driver behind you that, hey, you're going to dive it up this inside, so just know that. And Crawford allows him to do that, but just got the better exit, cleared him down the back straightaway. Now Crawford sets his sights on Fonseca as he gets this outside quarter panel.
And with a couple of drivers finding themselves coordinating up with how slow the up front drivers and everyone trying to get to the inside, and also playing a little bit nice on the outer groove, giving space for drivers to move up. Kind of squeezed everyone together. Give some opportunities for some side-by-side racing and chances to dive down low. And that's where we're seeing the 9 machine of Alan Elwood get into the mix, as well as seeing Trent Jump outside of the top 10. But both strong contenders here this evening as Ali Fonseca, Nick Crawford, the battle for 8th. I mean, a little bit nervous. They're almost using each other up. Is the 74 and the 24?
They are, yeah. You got to be careful for sure, because we're still only 67 laps into this event. You don't want to be one of those yellow flags we just got recently, because again, it's so easy to get caught up in your own little race here, make one mistake driving too deep, and next thing you know, you're involved in an incident and you're going to the back. So let's see what happens here as Crawford's able to really utilize those 2 tires well, and he goes around the outside. Just give him credit, man, because that is great to see him utilize those tires.
He really is. Big diving move from the 18 of Nicholas Renner. Into Trent Jump for a quick second. And the 18 is trying everything on that inner groove to get by the 46, but Alan Elwood, lead driver on the inside. He's got to move forward before you can, but Renner is really using everything underneath this car, using the outside vehicle, using this wheel to keep that thing straight. A big scary moment as Renner is still fighting, but man, everyone knowing top 10 position so critical, especially this time of the season. Every point matters as we're now 15 laps away from that halfway bonus point.
Ooh, Renner's sliding that thing, man. In the 18, he's gonna have quick hands when you're driving these race cars for sure. As look back up to our lead group here, and you can see it was the CSR teammates who were going to battle. As now Gavin Rogers and Fuller still right here. As Yingling with the 2 tires hanging on really well, so that balance working great. Same for Crawford. Maybe the 2 tires not really hurting him too bad as Yingling way up the track as he's trying to cover off that groove.
Cover it off. And you know, the curious thing was a lot of guys were saying early laps might be a little bit nervous, but after the long run, because of the fact that two tires kind of loosen up the vehicle, it helps with that tight sensation that drivers get in the long run, and that's why we're seeing two tires really look good right now with both Larry Yingling as well for Nick Crawford.
Completely agree, Sam. I think it's helping that balance of the race car, giving them a little bit freer condition, and it's definitely leading to that. And that's common for especially this Xfinity car. This is a tried and true method we do back in the day, but some of these newer stock cars, it's a little bit different. It can go different ways. This thing though, kind of still old school as Thomas Green. I mean, just a dive and a send up the inside. That's never going to work. There's contacts made there, and Crawford or Yingling just holding on for the time being.
Holding on, but for how long can you endure this abuse is going to be the question for the 67. As each lap ticks away, inching closer and closer to your Sim Sam halfway bonus point at the end of lap 85. Whoever is leading at the end of that lap will find themselves getting that one bonus point for themselves, and Yingling looking good at this current moment. But as our pole sitter of Gavin Rogers is starting to emerge into the top four, no longer just running that yellow line and waiting for his time to pounce. It's almost 40 laps into this under these tires. Not all green flag laps have been ran, as we have had a couple of cautions. But Zach, it looks like Gavin Rogers has finally flipped the switch. He wants to go because he knows that halfway bonus point is lingering, impossible to be grabbed.
That's exactly right, Sam. Yeah, these guys want that point. They know how much that can be valuable for them in the standings. But I tell you what, this race is also very interesting with the fact that they can go about 112 laps on fuel. That was what I've got a reading from a few guys out there, about 110, 112. And with that range, they're not in the range to make it to the end of this race, but a few of those cautions we've had have stretched this out a little farther. I still don't think they're in that range to make it, but I will tell you this much. It is definitely going to be interesting when it comes to strategy if we stay green at least here, because I do not know when these guys would elect to come down.
I know up front this has been a show, and we cannot really turn away from it because that halfway bonus point is there to be grabbed by all of these drivers. Do want to give a little bit of report of what's going on in the mid-pack for yourself. Some of the drivers that pitted under our last caution, which was 19 laps ago. Furthest up of those is Ethan Smith in 20th place, as we're going to go 3 wide for the lead position. Yingling trying to hold strong. Going to have Green, Sora fighting on the inner groove, but the momentum on the outside too strong. We also had a couple of other drivers going 3 wide in the mid-pack. For 20th position, Ethan Smith is moving forward efficiently with fresh tires. But Zach, the battle for the lead, those teammates are giving it their all, but Yingling still holds strong.
Yingling just doing a good job of running his line, but I tell you, Thomas Green has been stacked up behind him. I'm wondering how long before the contact is made before he gets a little bit fed up with the 67 being just right in the way and tries to move him, because he knows if his teammate gets ahead of him, it's going to be hard to get past his teammate. Look, a little bump down the straightaway, a little bump in the corner. Like I said, he's going to wreck him.
Oh, what a save from Yingling, but from the lead back to 5th, and Rogers is sending it for everything, but he gets too loose. And if you're Thomas Green, all those bumps that you gave to Yingling, I mean, Yingling might not be the driver that gives it back to you, but that gives a wide open call to everyone in the field. It's free game. The bump and run is going to be utilized.
Yeah, definitely a little aggressive from Green. I mean, he was stacked up behind him for a while there, but you got to find a different way around. You just can't run into the back bumper to move somebody. If I'm one of those drivers, I remember that and jotting it down. That might not get back tonight. It might not get back in a couple races, but at some point, you will remember that when you did that to me.
Yeah, there's Fuller. He just saw that move be utilized. He said, you know what, hey, I'll utilize it on the 3. You didn't abuse me, but I'll utilize my front bumper as much as possible. Now, these drivers got to be careful. These bumps, they are going to hurt this vehicle if you hit too hard. So you got to be on the equal balance of giving a good push that gets the driver out of the way without wrecking the guy. As what a dashing move from Fuller to the inside, trying to get by Rogers, who's now going to be held up by Green. And Alex Fuller can accelerate, and that late dashing move looked cool, but he was rewarded with nothing.
Was rewarded with nothing, but I think almost had to do it out of desperation not to run in the back of the 75. With Rogers closing that door there late on the corner entry there, he kind of got spooked, and I think he knew he was going to run in the back to him if he didn't just dive up the inside. So good job everybody staying off of one another. But right now, Vince is sort of trying to drive away as Thomas Green. He's got the Lexus 75 open. Rogers starting to put a little bit of pressure to that back bumper. But as I say that, Green running a little bit of that different line up top. He's getting a pretty good drive down the straightaways.
He's getting a good drive, but this is his final opportunity to go for the halfway bonus point. Again, it's your Sim Sam halfway bonus point. No one's clear enough. That will be Vincent Sora off the exit of turn number 4, grabbing your Sim Sam halfway bonus point. If you're looking for fun, relatable sim racing content, go look up. Going to be Sim Sam everywhere from YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitch. Check out what Samuel S. Garcia's got for you as Alex Fuller in the mix. But Rogers, I mean, I'm not expecting Gavin to use the bumper either. I mean, there's only a couple that will try to retaliate like that, but Yingling, Kelly, they've now faltered back to this chaos of everyone 9th on back. Look at this gaggle of cars that are trying to make opportunities go forward.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are still trying to make something happen. You got Ali Fonseca, Alan Elwood side by side, but also you got Stovall and Cedric Hunter fighting for position. And all of these drivers want the ability to try to get past each other so they can go up there and fight that next group. But again, you see side-by-side racing, it happens because, again, that outside line is just strong enough to hold that bottom group off. You can be a good bit faster than somebody, but if you cannot get around them efficiently, you will be stuck there for a turn.
So you're going to be standing inside the 19. Wounded, damage, and just feeling slow, but at least wants to put down lap times just in case someone else's night ends here prematurely. As we've seen a couple of drivers further on back. Here's Chris Stitz. I mean, Zach, Stitz is a driver these last few weeks. When we go to the mile and a half, we know is a threat to be up front. Here tonight, just looking for a solid finish as the 17 runs just outside of the top 15.
Yeah, we've seen some great runs from him this season, especially, like you said, the intermediates are, I feel like, his specialty, so to say. So tonight you come in a track like Richmond. Sometimes, Richmond, especially the way how awkward it is, some people just don't enjoy this place, and they just, like you said, want to get out of here with a decent finish. And if you're Stitz, right now, just because you're running 16, that doesn't mean anything. If anything, that could mean you could be farther up if you just keep your nose clean, because we know how fast some people can run into issues. Next thing you know, you're 16th, you could be 12th before this race is all said and done.
There's a couple of other drivers, going through the field, a couple of battles. They're just scattered around. It's been a fun one here this evening. Side-by-side battling for the lead. The mid-packs had their moments. Cedric Hunter, Alan Elwood, Ali Fonseca, some guys that were very quick during the practice, trying to emerge themselves to stay inside of the top 10. But it's been a pleasure to give you the call here this evening. Again, big thank you to the title sponsor of the Trinity Racing League, being Larry Arts Production. If you're looking for a variety channel that gives you the range of stop motion to vlogs, to live streams, and more, check out Larry Arts Production, as he gives you some great content. Love watching whenever Larry drops a new video, and you should go check him out too. Again, go check out on all socials, but primarily YouTube at Larry Arts Production. 3 wide battling there as Crawford, Ali Fonseca, Cedric Hunter, who's going to take these top positions for themselves as the 7 trying to make the inside groove work, but Zach, the outside, holds strong again as Crawford, with the better run, defends those 2 drivers.
I've been watching a little bit of lap times here and there, and Cedric Hunter every now and then will pop off a lap that's faster than our leaders and be one of the quickest cars on track. But it just shows you, again, that bottom side. He went 3 wide there. His cars had a lot of speed right here late into this run. He probably could get around these guys and be a much quicker, but just because, the bottom just is not able to make passes as efficiently, he just kind of got stuck here. And right now, this battle has been epic to watch.
It has certainly been epic to watch as you got Joshua Stovall, Trent jump, and everyone going once again 3 wide. But Fonseca, a little bit of a wobble. That's going to hurt the 24 as the 7 dies down low. Elwood has to back out, but it's just clustering. They got to be careful when there's that jam-packed. Just one tiny shift can ruin your night or someone else's. As Cedric Hunter, another diving move, but Foley just using up Crawford. That allows Hunter to go through.
Cedric Hunter's going to say thank you, Ollie. That is exactly what he needed, because that was perfect, picture perfect for him. As Ollie now, Alan Elwood and Nick Crawford still continue to race hard, but Ollie was, really trying to get around that 74. I can see the, really the thought in his mind to try to get there as fast as possible, because he's using the bumper multiple times to the center.
Ollie's going to wreck Crawford. There's no way around it. Either Crawford's got to just back out, which he's not going to do, and they're going to stay 3 wide once again. But this 24 is either going to wreck the 74 or he's going to wreck himself trying to make the pass, because this has just been dangerous on the passes, utilizing each other. And Fonseca, you got to find a way to get to the outside quarter panel of that 74, but he's used up the tires so much on the inside. He just doesn't have anything underneath him anymore. And all that's left is really that chrome horn on the front bumper.
That's for sure. Yeah, he used that a few times there. As Crawford now kind of going to a little bit of a lower line there, but now again, Elwood, good run off of 4. He'll be able to fight to the inside of Crawford here down into 1 and 2. And you're going to have, again, the 24 stacked up behind this 74. And these two have been racing each other a lot tonight, and it's been very close racing. So, you know, sometimes it happens in those short track races where you're just destined to race the same guy over and over until something happens.
Now trying to follow Alan Elwood through the inside groove, and this has been kind of the trap that Fonseca has been in this whole run. He sees a driver go to the inside, tries to utilize the same opportunity, but Fonseca once again tries to throttle up. But Crawford, better straightaway speed, better exit, and again another attempt from Fonseca to the inside. The 24 tried every which way, but once again it's Crawford holding on top of this battle time after time.
There it is, and again the bump again. That is the 3rd time he's hit him, slid him up the track, and you know, he gets to the inside of him, but Crawford's able to get a good enough run each time here where he is able to fight alongside him. So his push is going to come to shove here, and something bad's going to happen. And look, right there it is, the shove. It is going to be a wreck.
There's no way they don't, and Crawford once again just defending, watching the competition get by each and every time, and that time the body slam was big enough to move Crawford out of the way. Fonseca throttles up 3 wide once again, and Crawford just watching it. It's, oh boy, Nick Crawford just found, I mean not Crawford, but that's gonna be Renner that just found an opening to slot his way in as the 18. He's making daring moves as well.
Wow, this is interesting.
Oh, there's the contact. That's a slight revenge, slight irritation. And you better be careful, Fonseca. You better run and hide, because there's another tap, there's another bump, there's another send. And how much nicer can they play? And how many more positions are they willing to throw away? It's Crawford, big wiggle. And that's the opportunity that Ollie Fonseca needs to get away from this 74. But there's the late lunge into turn 1.
Crawford did a good job somehow to roll the center there to stay almost alongside, but now he's going to have to fight off that 77. But yeah, I mean, Fonseca and Nick Crawford, no love lost here so far in this race. These two have been going at it, and you know, it's hard to pass, man. You get to somebody and you can't get past them. You get frustrated, but sometimes you gotta just hold back a little bit and not use that car up, because next thing you know, you're gonna have some big enemies.
You certainly can have big enemies, and you know, we talked about past enemies that we didn't cover last season. But 2 drivers that did not have any love lost. Again, when they were battling each other, that was Jarrett Talmadge and Thomas Green. They're currently side by side, but we gotta watch this action as they're 3 wide once again, and it's the 74 now stuck in the middle. That has been the worst spot to be. You usually lose a lot of ground there, as Crawford trying to defend, but losing ground to Renner as well. The Stovall jump. Now here's Presley Sora. And the 74, the 2-tire call, is now fading away. Same thing we're seeing from Larry Yingling. It was very successful for about the first 40 laps, but then you kind of get caught. The transfer of tires goes to the drivers that took 4. And now we're in an awkward position for seeing the 74 as he sends it to the inside.
And I think one of the things that kind of happens too is you get longer on these old tires here, 2 tires like this. You get a condition, what I like to call is called push loose, where the nose of the race car is going to start to get really pushy in the center of the corners and want to go out towards that wall. And then next thing you know, it's breaking loose. And we've seen it. His rear end snaps loose a few times. He also can't carry good center speed. So that kind of equates to what that car, I think, is feeling for him. And you know, that's a tough position to be in when you're out here battling like these guys are.
There's been some great racing action with everyone joining us here late in the run-ins. We want to bring up our race report. It's been an eventful one, a good 40-lap stint to start the race off. And before we had our first caution flag, and then we rattled off a couple of cautions after that to bring us up to 4 total. We've had 4 different lead change, 4 different leaders, and currently it's Vincent Sora leading the charge up front. But the mid-pack is where all the drama's been building up, and once again, it's Larry Yingling who's getting the next driver in line, and it's Paulie Fonseca has to find a way to get around his 67, as this is the battling from 9th, 10th on back that has given us the best show so far here this evening. But they better be careful, because this grouping of drivers gets put in the wall is Presley Sora, but they got to be careful. This grouping is about to get into a very dangerous spot of lap cars getting into the mix, which is going to change up how these drivers want to react moving forward. As Crawford makes wiggle and slide, but holds on as he tries to get by Stovall.
Yeah, great job holding on to this. Man, this group has been definitely the show of the field so far here through this run, and right now you can see Stovall really trying to work his way continuously around. But like you said, some lap cars getting into the mix. We've got Danny Cochran, Cody Reed, who have gone laps down now. They've gotten lapped by at least Vincent Sora, Gavin Rogers, and Jarrett Talmadge. But I tell you what, they definitely weren't playing no favorites to the lead lap cars. They've definitely been racing them pretty hard.
They certainly have, and we're starting to see a couple of drivers head into pit road to get fresh set of tires. Christopher Norris, Chris Stitz, both have made a pit stop. Now Crawford's heading into pit road, so we're starting to see green flag pit stops about to be underway. They try to stay out as long as possible to stretch the fuel out. Strat Zach, not the call for some of these drivers here this evening.
That is looking to be the way, and I'm not surprised by that. I don't think the fuel will get all the way there, but again, this is a huge risk when you come down this early. Now, it does put you in the realm to make it all the way to the end. Yes, you're going to get a big advantage if it cycles through, but this is going to be a huge loss if caution comes out. So I think that's why you'll see a lot of these guys wait to attempt their pit stops a little bit possibly later. But again, it's going to be on the forefront of their minds because they know they can't make it to the end of this race.
And the 15 machine of Vincent Sora has been the driver up front, looking the strongest here this evening. It's been a fun one for himself. Qualified second's been up front. Second place runner being Gavin Rogers, who got the Blazing Fast TV pole award this evening. But he's being ran down by Jarrett Talmadge. As we move back to what we've been kind of the Hornets' nest of drivers, you got Nicholas Renner on the outside of Presley Sora trying to make his way into the top 10. Yingling continues to falter backwards as he's now fallen to the clutches of Stovall and Ethan Smith, which Ethan Smith trying his best way to move forward. Smith currently of those are the freshest of tires and fuel as he now moves into 14th position. The only problem is that was 58 laps ago compared to everyone else's 80 laps ago.
Yeah, we'll see how that works for him. I mean, it's definitely going to put him in a different position here than everybody else to play, but we'll see how it works out. But again, Cedric Hunter, look at this, is all ahead of him. I think Thomas Green coming to pit road. He dives to the inside, so Green's coming to pit road, but Cedric Hunter trying to break into the top 5, and Hunter has been very, very quick. He's done a lot of good passes. If he can continue to work his way forward here in this transitions, he could easily be looking at a top 5 night.
I mean, this is one of Cedric Hunter's sneakily good races that we see the 7 at, and here tonight, looking good as he's trying to find a way to get around Alex Fuller. Now up front, Gavin Rogers is finding his way into pit road, giving up second position. So starting to see a lot more drivers willing to head into pit road. Mark Lavertone, Thomas Green, they're about to be leaving to pit road as Yingling was thinking for a second to head to pit road, but he continues to stay out. As Vincent Sora, how much time is he willing to give up? Because his gap back to Gavin Rogers was about a second and a half, and now he's going to find himself having Jarrett Talmadge that's trying to run down the 15, who, because he didn't have to challenge for that position, the 27 can continue on the rapid pace he's been at so far these last 10 laps.
Yeah, look at lap time wise, Talmadge and Kelly both quicker than our leader of Sora. So Kelly about 10th and a half, and then you have Talmadge about a half a tenth quicker. So Kelly very rapid at this moment in the 13. Same for Cedric Hunter, 23.62 back for him. So right now the likes of the cars in 4th and 3rd, fastest on the racetrack. Vincent Sora, though, has a good gap here to manage this.
But we do need to put our camera back for the battle for 10th place. There is a lot of lap cars and also lead lap drivers on top of each other. It's Richard Wolfsfer in the mix. Nicholas Renner giving a little bit of contact, as well as going to be seeing the 47. That's Dalton Hayes, who's on fresh tires, marching his way through this group. So you got slow cars on the outside, fast ones taking the inside, and the middle, it's battling between lead lap drivers, and somehow they survived that run. as now you're going to have another cluster of drivers of Cody Reed faltering back, moving to the outside. It's just a madhouse of where do you even go with looking in your mirror and looking ahead, and there's not a lot of time to react if you look at the wrong time.
That's for sure, Sam. This is getting very interesting, man, with this split strategy with a lot of people. It is going to be tough to go all the way green, and if you're a driver who's already pitted, you are sitting there saying, please cycle through. Do not let this not cycle through, and if anything, let me at least get around the leader to unlap myself. And that's tough to do at these short tracks. There's all cars loose there on the outside of 75 of Rogers there. I think that was, I believe, Isaac Shelley, I believe.
That was actually going to be the 09 of Presley Sora, who got very loose for a moment. I mean, there's a lot of guys. Again, there's over 34 drivers out on track, and we're scattered all over the place. I think there's only about a quarter of the track that is not being taken over by a driver, which is crazy to say, as Nick Lewis-Renner now going to get service for himself, as the half of the field has already made a pit stop, and Yingling slide contact, and yellow flag is thrown, and that's the caution that half the field already made their pit stop did not want to see.
That's going to be contact from Richard Wolsifer, who on the brand new tires, I think just unfortunately a little bit deep into the corner, or sorry, actually maybe not on the brand new tires.
No, he's not. He's on, just runs over the lead lap driver, and caution flag thrown as Yingling was efficiently trying to just get around some of these lap cars, and it backfires as he finds a way to get around Richard Wolsifer, who was currently at that moment 24th and one lap down, and he just gives up the space. And I think because Richard doesn't know the line that Yingling's been running, just expecting the 67 to go lower, and instead runs over Yingling with oncoming traffic, and how sideways he was, that will bring out the caution here this evening.
I tell you, that back bumper of Yingling's been getting a good hit here tonight so far a few times, and that was 2 great saves for him, but this has really hurt the likes of Gavin Rogers, man. I mean, they're going to have to, I believe, take the wave here, I'd more or less say, as everybody's coming to pit road.
I would expect that the wave to be taken by a lot of drivers to get back onto the lead lap. Mark Labertone, as well as Trenton Jump, Richard Wolsifer, Joshua O'Brien, Dalton Hayes, as well as Jesse Thornick, all trying to find a way to stay out to get that wave around for themselves, but pit road being called for majority of the field, and it's Vincent Sora, Jared Talmadge. They'll be the leaders after this pit stop being finished up, as our Blazing Fast TV Pole Award winner, being Gavin Rogers, is going to have a long recovery run, because at the time that he went into pit road, he was in 2nd place, so that is a tough pill to swallow. Again, Blazing Fast TV is your pole and grid sponsor. Head on over to Blazing Fast TV on Twitch and YouTube for the perspective of Dakota Moniz on his racing, as he does racing, sports games, and plenty of other content to check out on his, again, Twitch and YouTube at Blazing Fast TV. But Zach, I mean, this has kind of been the way the season's been so far. When we get to that second half of the race, where you got half the field on one strategy, the other half on a different one, and it's always cautions that change everything up.
Completely agree. Yeah, it's always one thing that can shake up things, and again, that's why I think the whole pitting there under that sequence of green was just such a risk for so many people. I mean, we see how many are having to take the wave to get around here. I wouldn't be surprised if they have to extend this possibly another lap, because how many people are taking the wave here. But this is set up some interesting predicaments. I mean, if you're Gavin Rogers too, another thing is, you take the wave, you're on 10 lap old tires here, and, everybody ahead of you is going to be on fresh ones.
Well, for those out in the chat, rooting on for Ethan Smith, well, what a time to be watching. Currently going to be up in 6th position. Thomas Walter going to be in 7th. Samuel S. Garcia 9th and 10th place. Seeing Stephen Clapp and Joshua Kanata going back and forth between that. But that's going to be Kanata in that position. As we've got the 1 to green, Vincent Sora, Jared Talmadge, the lead drivers. But you can add now Cedric Hunter into the mix. That 7's looked quick. Where will his speed be? Ollie Fonseca, the fastest driver from practice, trying to translate that speed over here to race trim. as we're side by side. Thank you so much to everyone that's joining with us here this evening as the 5th caution of the day concludes. It's time for us to get back to the one cold night in Richmond, sponsored by CSR Refrigeration, to be back underway as Sora Talmadge revving it up and taking off on Seika, just shoving that 27 down into turn number 1.
That he is, man. You've seen Fonseca shoving a few cars here. Nice. Oh, Jared's going to hold on to. He's a little loose. He's going to get another bump, and he's going to wreck Cedric.
Hunter goes around right in front of Fonseca. Smith and hard contact as more drivers pile in. No one's coming to a halt. Caution flag is out, and they went from wrecking off a 2 to a pile up in 3.
This is just a little bit too much aggression here on this initial one, and Talmadge makes the mistake of getting a little bit loose there. But man, oh man, you gotta see that and know that you gotta back off just enough. You can't be right up the back bumper. I get Fonseca's trying to get position here, but kind of just finishes off Talmadge, and that continues, and that's how Fonseca ends up in it. And look at the pile up after it, man.
Everyone trying to march their way through, and that is going to be over 4+ drivers require damage, as Alan Elwood, Clint Cox, as well as Joshua O'Brien, and also going to be seeing Stephen Clapp, all require damage. And let's right on board with the 24 on what he saw. And 27 snaps loose, trying not to lose momentum, but honestly clips probably the worst spot you can off the exit of the corner, and everyone else just piling on in.
Yeah, it's tough. I get the position Fonseca's in there. He wants to get the great run, but you see that car sideways. You have the gap behind you to lift a little bit more. I think that would just been the smarter position to fall in there, let Jarrett gather it up, and you get that bump there onto him, and next thing you know, now your car is destroyed too.
Ellen Elwood already out of this thing, our points leader. Olive Fonseca heavily damaged. That's her top 2 in points. Cody Reed had earlier struggles. Going to be Clayton Montgomery asked for provisional. This is given a huge opportunity for Jared Talmadge, 5th in points, to gain big on all of your front runners. And this is going to be an interesting one, as the admins are already letting everyone know that penalties are going to be something looked after for next week for ARCA breaks, which I know a couple of drivers have been hit with that. That's a end of the line and drive-through penalty given for the next race. So there might be a couple of guys next week's race as they head to Chicagoland that are going to have to start on the back foot. As the rest of the field, nobody opting to pit unless you were involved with that wreck. But here's to choose. Vincent Sora just deciding to go low, and he's going to be also having a little bit of friendliness drivers behind them. Watch out for Stovall, Ethan Smith, Thomas Walter. Zach, we got a new batch of drivers behind Vincent Sora.
Yeah, we do. Stovall, he has brought himself into the picture, and it's great to see for him. Ethan Smith, we love to see that. Great run for him. Thomas Walter, Michael Miller also up there, Samuel Garcia. Presley Soares even broken into the top 10 with Kanata Knight. So this is great to see some new names, but we're going to have some also other drivers charging here for sure.
And a lot of those names you just listed off, all drivers inside of the top 15 at the cut line or just outside. So big points today on the line for a majority of the field as we are back to green flag action. Vincent Sora, Jared Talmadge, Stovall, Smith, all heading down into turn number 1. And Ethan Smith trying to find a way to get to that outside groove of the 27. Not going to be the case as Sora already muscling his way forward. A little bit of loose sensation up front, but further on back, heavily damaged machines trying to continue to roll on. Ali Fonseca just looks too wounded to continue. Well, that 24 will try his best, but up front, it's Sora Talmadge looking good in a lot of single file racing as a 0-0 trying to find a footing to go to the outside.
He tries to do, and surprised Fonseca didn't come down there to get that car a little worked on as that thing's up. The worst is Fuller's going around the front on the back straightaway, guys.
Trouble in the back for that 45 machine. And also going to see Jesse Thornock as he's involved in this one. As it looked like it was once again drivers breaking loose and just no give anymore with those sensations.
That's for sure. And everybody knows it's getting closer down to the end of this race. And I know that's definitely got to be a lot of the big reason for all that. But right now we'll check out Fuller here in the 45. He's coming up to Ryan Bird, gets the run here.
I believe this is a different incident. Yeah, this is a different incident that went down, as it was Fuller running into the 7. Yeah, there's the aftermath of the wreck. So we're almost to the replay. Here's going to be the incident as they were 3 wide ahead, and it's going to be Cedric Hunter being used and abused by the 45, and ultimately it was Jesse Dornock in the 14. It's going to give the finishing blow to that 45 machine as they head down into turn number 1. Let the chaos reign for the rest of the field.
And it does. You see Cedric Hunter, no rear end. He's got no rear grip. Oh, gets the bump from the 45. And that stacks him up, and Thornick gets into the 45. And Hunter survives, but Fuller and Thornick involved in this. Involved
with it, and no required damage given to any of those drivers. Kind of a lot of just scrapes and scrubs on the front bumper and the sides, so that everyone's able to continue to race on. But Alan Elwood, Joshua Sawyer, as well as Stephen Clapp from the previous incident, all looking to be worried about. But we'll see how the field is going to handle the rest of this run. As Vincent Soar, Jared Talmadge, 7 cautions so far. Here's our race report if you're just joining with us. We got 30 laps to go. Going to be less than 30 when we finally go green. And Zach, I'm looking at it. I mean, there's not a lot of opportunities. If you were hoping to maybe have a tire advantage, there's really no time to get that advantage. You're kind of stuck with what you got. Better hope that you choose right at the choose that we're having right now.
Well, I agree, Sam. Yeah, this is going to be an important choose here for you, because this sets you up for this next restart. And we're getting down to the end of this thing. You know, you're probably considering staying out for majority of this thing if it continues to get yellow flags. But if we get, you know, a 10-15 lap little green spurt here, I would not be surprised to see some people take a gamble. But right now, I think people are so worried about getting caught up in that mix. We know it's dangerous the farther you get back.
As our top 10, starting to see a little bit of shuffling, but big movers so far. Going to be seeing Joshua Stovall up 23 positions. Michael Miller in 6th place, up 22. Up 23 is Thomas Walter in 7. Up 10 spots is Samuel S. Garcia. Up 11, Nick Crawford. Up 21 spots is Joshua Kanata in 10th. A lot of shuffling, a lot of drivers being knocked out of this race, but the night's not over yet for the One Cold Night in Richmond, sponsored by CSR Refrigeration. We're back to green flag action with less than 30 laps to go here this evening.
It's a great start there for Vincent Sora. He's going to get out quickly to the front, but he's going to have Stovall storming up to the back bumper. And look at Larry Eagle.
Oh, much trouble. They're going around. Renner, Norris, and many of others on the back stretch. It's just once again, one driver snaps loose. The rest of the field wants to get involved.
Yeah, that's easy to do on these restarts. Everybody going for it, so to say, and the room runs out very quickly. You know, it was almost 3 wide for them there on this restart as you see the carnage of everything that played out. But that 38 of Norris, he makes the move up to the top around the 18 here, right on this restart. You'll see there's the 13 of Ryan Kelly on the bottom. Right now, 3 wide. Kelly's going to clear the 2, but Norris gets a better run here. He's going to come down the track just a tiny bit as Renner's going up. They clip each other. That clips down into Kelly, and then from there, just a few others spin around. Luckily, nothing too major, but definitely another ticky-tack incident on one of these restarts.
Yeah, it certainly was a ticky-tack play. Required damage for Renner, blown engine for himself, same for Jesse Thornock. So that's going to be 2 drivers now out of this race. And it's just a bizarre one that's happened here this evening. It just continues to see driver after driver losing out here late. Was hoping that maybe a lot of those cautions were going to happen in the mid-pack of this race, but you just know when you get a late caution with 60 to go, that worry of, well, let's take it easy. Let's give each other space. That's no longer in the mindset of these drivers. It's about, if I see a driver snap loose, that's an opportunity to grab a position. And with how close and compact everyone is, I mean, Zach, this is impossible at times for these drivers to make some of these moves, but they're still feel like they've got an opportunity to steal some of these spots away when they see someone else make a mistake.
I completely agree, Sam. They hop to take that position, and they say, you know what, give it to me, because they know it may not be available in these restarts. They may be going backwards on the next one of these restarts. So, drivers are taking every little chance they can to make something happen, but unfortunately, it's causing issues. That's what leads to cautions breed cautions, folks, and we're seeing it here again tonight at Richmond. But this has overall been a great race. Still, it was expected maybe at some point for this to happen, but we were hoping maybe it would be at the front end of the race. But it looks like the back end here is going to be a little infected with yellows. But we still got plenty to go.
Choose is underway. Do you go high? Do you go low? Stovall going to follow our leader to the inside. That gives the outside position to Jarrett Talmadge as well. Teammate of Talmadge going to be Larry Yingling following in suit. But looking at this field on this restart, if we look at further back to season 1, when the Trinity Racing League attempted to race here, as we're going to be given one extra lap of pacing. These drivers had a total of 10 cautions. And the driver that ultimately won that day was Thomas Green, over 200 laps. Here this evening, we've ran 146. We've had a couple of, we're not at 10 cautions yet, but we might get there still. There's still overtime if needed. As Vincent Sora just being in control. Zach, if you're the drivers that are behind this 15, what can you even do? Because it looks like on these restarts, that 15 is always getting at least a car length gap as they head into turn 1.
It's all about timing, and it's tough because he's probably doing a good job of mixing up the timing a little bit, and if you mistime it, say Jarrett Talmadge from the top, you jump, you're going to get a black flag, more than likely, unless you're able to catch yourself. Sometimes you can kind of, roll it a little bit and then catch yourself, but it's going to hurt your restart, of course, and then lose positions. But you got to go for the timing of it because, like you said, we've seen every time so far of its sort of last 4 or 5 restarts, he's jumped out to a 1 to 2 car length gap heading into 1, and you can't do that if you want to fight him into the corner.
Couple of drivers opting for tires in the mid-pack. We'll see if they can climb their way forward. But up front, Vincent Sora, Jarrett Talmadge take us to the green. As everyone else, big wiggle on the outside from Larry Yingling. Yingling's got to be careful with Michael Miller on his back bumper, but up front on the inside row, it's Stovall, Sora, as they exit at turn number 2. Wiggles of all a foot, but we keep it green into turn number 3.
Jarrett Talmadge goes defensive there on Ethan Smith. Doesn't want to allow that 0-0 to the inside. Is now Yingling trying to fight around the outside of the 0-0. He will do that. And Yingling, remember his specialty all night, it's been about 30 to 40 lap runs. He is now climbing his way forward once again, utilizing that outer groove. This kind of plays into the ballpark of his strength of just kind of taking off and going here. Let's see how it works for him. As look at this gaggle back here. Gavin Rogers involved in it. He's trying to make the climb back through.
Rogers, Crawford, Miller, Kanata, all in the mix of this, as well as Thomas Walter, who's trying to have one of his better runs at a short track, the 57, just at the brink of 10th place, but under fire from Christopher Norris, that was just involved with a recent wreck. As up front, Sora still trying to pull away with Joshua Stovall, and Stovall is looking good for now for keeping it close. Yingling as well. But it's all that battling from 5th on back that is going to be the drama from here on out with these final 20 laps.
Yeah, look at Nick Crawford go, man. The 74, he's able to make some big moves. He's up there fighting into the top 5 as he's side by side with Ethan Smith off of 3 and 4. Remember, Crawford at one point getting moved around by the 24 Fonseca. Now in the position to possibly pull off a top 5. He would love that and take it with a smile on his face. As right now, Smith looking to get the best run he can to complete, stop the 74 from going forward.
As a 0-0 on the 74 continue to stay side by side. There's one driver behind them that I also have an eye out for. That's 12th place runner in the 3 machine, Thomas Green. He pitted 20 laps ago. Technically, he's on some of the freshest of tires. Same for Christopher Norris. Well, that 3 has been emerging his bumper on the inside, almost forcing it 3 wide with Norris a couple of times. I'm just curious on, will we see Green utilize the bumper once again here this evening, or is he just content with running back here and seeing whatever position he gets at the end of the day?
Well, to see here for sure as he's stacked up behind Christopher Norris and does a good job there checking up for the 38. As the 38 does get the pass done on Walter, so Norris is going to move him up into the top 10. That's going to help Thomas Green a little bit. Is Walter into the back of the 38.
And just like that, get him out of the way. Thomas Walter, a good finish, no longer as a push and a shove. And they continue to race on And that is going to probably be a big discussion point moving forward, was how aggressive were these bumps willing to be utilized? Because I know a lot of these drivers that are using their bumpers here tonight were a little bit frustrated, a little bit irritated with how much they were being abused the last couple of weeks, and now turning the turntable to their side here tonight as Michael Miller, as well as Joshua Kanata, they find themselves in 8th and 9th position. But is that even safe with seeing the 3 machine? And right behind them, that's Mark Lavertone in 11th place.
And it is. Mark Lavertone having a great run here tonight, and he is trying to stay out of the mess. He really would love to get this. If he could get a top 10 here at Richmond, that would be a storybook ending. And just, again, a shout out to him because he's had some really good improvement over these last 2 seasons.
I mean, tonight has been incredible for Lavertone. He's been just on the cusp of the top 10, been on the right footing for tires each and every restart, and does it once again. He's a part of that cluster of drivers that have the freshest of tires, so he's got the grip to go for these big lunging moves. But you got to be careful for that 42 machine not to overdo it here this evening. You got a good finish. Don't throw it away, even though you see an opportunity to gain a couple of more runs. We're coming down to these final 12 laps, Zach. Vincent Sora has made the gap over a half a second in distance. The question now looms, do we stay clean and green? Because if we're going to have a caution, it's most likely going to be back in 13th, 14th, and 15th position.
But yeah, that's what I was about to say. That group there from Stitz on back is definitely stacked up. You got Christopher Norris, Presley Sora. They're battling great here. You got Joshua O'Pire trying to get a run, and also Samuel Garcia. So a lot of drivers trying to fight forward, and also a very quick driver who's we've seen good tonight here, Ryan Kelly. He's got Meyer back. He's trying to climb back through in 17th.
Trying to get their way through the madness. Recover here tonight. Big Wiggles out, ultimately getting back single filed out. But Norris, small little tap, he gets shuffled to the outside. As the 48 gives a small little tap, and they'll continue to race on. This gives opportunity for now Garcia to get around the 48. As we continue to look at some of the distances, some of the gaps. Again, this is a cluster that we're most nervous about having a caution come out, but now we're starting to see some battling just outside of the top 5. That's Thomas Green, once again, the driver that's on the move with Michael Miller to his outside.
Thomas Green definitely on the move. Like you said, he's been climbing his way back, kind of recover from that that green flag stop. Has a little bit fresher tires like we brought up before from a pit stop ago, and now he's made his way around Miller. He's got his sights on the 00 Ethan Smith, and look, he might be able to get to the right record panel. If he does that, that'd be an easy pass, but just can't do it. Has to cut back low here. Now going to go to the inside with the crossover.
I'm watching Green. He's utilizing this car like a true stock car. Yes, I've got bumpers, I got fenders. I might as well use them up here tonight, but that's probably the cleanest pass he's had all night long, getting by the 00. That kind of saw how the passes were being made in his mirror. And for Ethan Smith, he'll hold on for this position and try to defend the cars behind him. As now, how many more spots with 7 to go can Thomas Green get? Because the battle for the lead is kind of over. Stovall has made a good enough gap back to Yingling. It's the 67 trying to stop the 27 of Talmadge and Yingling back to their duel that they had earlier in the race.
I tell you, if Vince is sort of one of 2 good defenders, he's got him. He's got the 67 and the 77. I think 2 of the best drivers at just holding station and holding someone back. So right here, I know Yingling, you know, he's got the likes of Talmadge. You know, they're kind of affiliated, so to say, on this team with how they all associate with each other in Discord. But I know Yingling, he's going to race hard here all the way to the end. And he's going to try to hold this position. But Talmadge does have the pace right now. It's just, will he have enough time to get around? Because we've seen Yingling's able to hold on a long time around this outside.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it takes about 5 laps just to pass one driver, and with 5 to go, that means you only have enough time to get by one of the 3 if you want to get into victory lane. And you better be careful, Talmadge, because you have Gavin Rogers, who's now emerging in the mix, and just behind him, Thomas Green has now caught up to the tail end back. Oh, it's not over just yet. 4 to go here this evening for the one cold night in Richmond, sponsored by CSR Refrigeration. It just makes sense for one of the CSR drivers to be leading at the end of this race, and that's Vincent Sora. But now coming to 3 to go. What left does the 3 machine have on positions to gain?
See what Thomas Green has as Vincent Sora's teammate out front leading the way, like I said, to a second gap. And Sora so dominant here tonight, looking for a third win. This should move him into above the cut line, and that would be huge, of course, for him.
And like the trend has been for this 15, as long as he finishes the race, he's in victory lane. It's either win or wrecked out. Those are the only two options he's had, and he continues the trend here tonight, Zach, with 2 to go and looking for another win on the docket. Already has 2. Can he find his way to grabbing his third off the exit turn number 4? Looking up the flag stand as your Team Watson Racing setups white flag for Vincent Sora.
Vincent Sora has been so dominant tonight. Like you said, it's been win or bust. Tonight, it looks like win is in the future as he heads down the back straightaway for the last time.
As he finally knocked off the bad luck fully, Vincent Sora, welcome back to victory lane once again, back-to-back in his third of the season. It's Vincent Sora winning the One Cold Night in Richmond, sponsored by CSR Refrigeration. The team sponsored it, and one of the drivers gets the victory lane. Congratulations to the 15. Also, big shout out to the biggest mover of the night of Joshua Stovall getting second, and Larry Yingling defending and holding back the field to get third. It was a fun one this evening as everyone gives congratulational bumps to the 15. And that was a well of a race, Zach. A lot of chaos, but the 15 who dominated it gets into victory lane.
That he does. He's going to burn down the front straightaway. I think this driver going to be super excited with the run he had here tonight. But got to give a shout to everybody else. We know that it had a little rash of yellows there, but man, that race was really, really good through majority of it, especially with how tough it was to pass for these drivers we saw.
It certainly was a tough job. Also want to give congratulations to Mark Labertone getting 11th place here this evening. A good run for himself, but for the rest of the field, they get to reset, they get to calm down, and they get ready for next week at Chicagoland. But for this 15, he burns it down. For us, we are about to step away. When we come back, we'll talk to your top 3 of Vincent Sora, Joshua Stovall, and Larry Yingling, as well as get you ready for next week's race at Chicagoland. We'll be back right after this for the post-race show. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for the post-race show of the Trinity Racing League, presented by Larry Arts Production. Race 7 of Season 3 is in the books, and we head to Victory Lane to talk to the 15 team that gets it done for the One Cold Night in Richmond, sponsored by CSR Refrigeration. It just makes sense for a CSR driver to get into Victory Lane. And Vinny, you continue the trend. You survived the race. You find yourself in victory lane. Congratulations on your third win of the season. How are you feeling after this one?
Oh, it feels great, man. Momentum gets rolling for me, and then I turn into a problem. I feel like I'm really good whenever I go into these races with a lot of confidence. It helps that I've had 2 tracks back-to-back that are historically really good for me. in the past. But yeah, I went into the night just with the mindset that I needed to hit all my marks and be perfect. And honestly, I was anything but perfect, especially in the early runs of the race. I gave up the lead stupidly, like I feel like I do every week, and then start kicking myself for because clean air is the almighty in any of these cars on iRacing. But yeah, it was just so hard to pass. Whenever it's night Richmond and the track is as cold as it was tonight, it heats up the right front so much that that outside groove starts working, and you get guys that they're just better at working it than me. I'm a traditional guy. I like to just paint that yellow line, and I feel like I did a good job doing that tonight. But I definitely could have executed better for the long runs and racing around guys. But I can't complain, man. The race played out pretty much perfectly for me. I got lucky staying out there. It was getting to the point where I was like, maybe I should kind of think about pitting, but historically, you can't be safe and pit on a green flag run at Richmond because the yellow is always waiting to come out. So I got lucky again. But yeah, I drove the wheels off this 15 car, and it's cool to put it in victory lane.
Definitely drove the wheels off of Vinny, man. Congrats on another victory. It's like it's been, again, win or bust this season for you, so it's good to see you third time in victory lane. I mean, take us through his restart stuff at the end. I mean, you were really nailing those, man. You didn't really even have much threat under most of those restarts. How proud were you of those starts?
Yeah, they were good. I knew that I had to be perfect on them. I feel like I've gotten really good at timing restarts and being the control car on restarts over the last couple of years. It's something I've worked on because, I mean, you can steal a race just by getting a nose ahead going down into turn one on a restart. So early on in the race when Larry got the lead from me, I was doing a decent job timing those. Like I'd enter one pretty much on his inside every time. It's just so hard to power off there. But yeah, at the end, I was just trying to change him up with the guys around me. Never let Jarrett know when I was going to go. But yeah, it was super crucial. I knew it was going to be, and I especially didn't want to go down into 1 or 3 with any of those guys close enough where they could ship me, because wins are valuable, man. You got a big field over here and a lot of guys fighting for wins. So, we're all going to be racing really hard for it, and I just couldn't let it happen to me.
Well, Vinny, over this week, I know there's been a lot of discussion with the admins on a lot of rule changes, and one of those being the tire changes of adding an extra set for a majority of these races moving forward. How do you feel like that's going to influence some of these future races? Because I know you were one of those guys that was hoping to have an extra set. You don't have to worry about the tire lottery game later on in these races.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Tonight, we fortunately didn't run into that problem. It's just all about the timing of that first yellow, I feel like. And, I've gotten fortunate the last 2 times that it's happened. I won Bristol and I won Vegas because I made the right call at the right time. But it's still frustrating as a driver. I would just so much rather a long run, whether I get beat or not on it. But yeah, it's nice. If we get that yellow pretty much anywhere inside the window from like lap 15 to 19 at the bigger tracks, it's kind of a split thing. Like, you feel like you use enough of the tires that you want to come down and pit, but then some of the guys who don't, they're in a better spot. And then if we wreck again around like the lap 40 or 50 mark, it just completely flips the field. So yeah, it would be nice to have that extra set. And if that's something that gets implemented, I think it's going to definitely improve the racing.
Well, Vinny, congratulations on tonight's win. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
Yeah, definitely first and foremost, CSR. This is a big win for us tonight. We had to put one of the cars in the camp into victory lane. So pretty cool to see this scheme doing burnouts. Shout out to you guys for broadcasting. I can't wait to go back and watch. And shout out to the admins over here. I know it's been a rough week, but at the end of the day, we're all just trying to make the league a better place, and just a bunch of drivers, like I said, fighting for the same stuff, wanting to have a better product each week. So shout out to all the fans at home, and yeah.
Well, congratulations once again, Vinny, on the win, and good luck next week at Chicagoland.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one. Shout out CSR.
As that will be your winner here tonight, of Vincent Sora. That'll be his 3rd win on the season. As we head down to second place to bring up the 77 team of Joshua Stovall. Certainly it's been a good 2 weeks for himself. Get to talk to him now 2 times. Josh, you come away with your best finish of the season. Second place here tonight, your second podium finish of the season. How are you feeling after performance here tonight?
Well, this wasn't the place I thought I would sit here and finish second at. I mean, especially with qualifying. I mean, I just haven't been able to lay down hot laps very good, and all season I've kind of mired myself in the middle of the field to start the race. Besides last week, last week I think I started 10th and ended up with the 3rd place finish. But coming from 26 and working my way through the field tonight was pretty good. I'm happy with myself. If it would have been one position better, all that more. But very happy with how this how the outcome was tonight. So
Definitely an excellent outcome, Josh, for sure, man. I mean, take us through the race, though. It was hard to pass here tonight, and you definitely probably got to feel the brunt of most of that because of starting farther back and climbing your way through the field. Take us through that because we've seen a lot of guys having to use bumpers, a lot of doors being used. There was definitely a little bit of a contact sport here tonight for sure to make passes.
yeah, for sure. Fortunately, I don't think I had to use the front bumper or really any door anybody to get around them for the most part, and I kind of kept it clean. I mean, I think the only incident point I had was at the in the race at I think I got in the back of Jared or something like that. But it was tough. I mean, you just had to kind of settle in. I ended up doing a lot of my passing on the outside line. I mean, guys were hugging the bottom, and then there was a couple times throughout the middle of the race where restarts I ended up choosing the bottom, and a lot of guys were I could see them kind of getting loose up on corner exit coming out of 4. So I would take advantage of it and just kind of take it 3 wide if I was able to get the run on them. And I ended up making probably 3 or 4 passes that way. So it was a lot of work. I'm pretty wore out over here. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Well, all your work certainly rewarded, Josh. Looking at the point standings, you've moved up now into 3rd overall in the point standings after tonight's performance. So that's some good motivation for yourself to continue moving with the momentum you've had so far. We've got ourselves Chicagoland, the Milwaukee Mile, then Spa. I know Spa is going to be an interesting one overall for everybody, but for the next 2 races that are on the docket, how are you feeling about those being Chicagoland and Milwaukee Mile?
I feel great about both of them, honestly. I mean, Chicagoland's a fun racetrack. I feel like I don't know how it's going to go if it'll get top dominant or not, but I mean, we'll be able to move around. There'll be a lot of lines. It'll be fun to work it. It'd be nice to be back at a mile and a half too. Always enjoy that. Milwaukee Mile, I'm not like I said, I'm really not too sure about. I've got to get some time on that racetrack, and then obviously we'll see where we rank in points after Spa. But the next 2, I am excited for. I think we'll have some good runs there and keep the momentum flowing.
Well, it's been great to talk to you, Josh, tonight and last week. But before we let you go here this evening, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
Yeah, no, just shout out to y'all guys for always putting on a great broadcast. Shout out to I think my teammate Mikey. I think he got another top 10 tonight, so he's running good. And poor Clap, we'll get him up here at some point. Just bad luck, but shout out to the wife in the living room for letting me do it every Monday night, and anybody that I had watching, friends and family. So it was a good time. I appreciate you guys.
Well, thank you for giving us such a great race to call. That'll be your 2nd place finisher of Joshua Stovall. Josh, enjoy this one, and good luck next week at Chicagoland.
Thank you, guys.
As we move from 2nd place, we go down to 3rd. To talk to a driver who had a lot of ups and downs, got shoved around, but ultimately will take 3rd at the end of the day. We got Larry Yingling with us. And Larry, I mean, you were leading this race. You were in a good position, then got moved out of the way. Great save overall, but how are you feeling coming away 3rd here tonight after a strong early performance for yourself?
Well, after being a pinball and having a yo-yo race, I'm definitely glad to get a top 3. I think my speed overall, I might have contended for a top 3 anyway. Just contend, I don't think I would have been a surefire top 3. But long run felt okay for me, even when I got hit sideways and fell back a few spots. I still kept up and even somewhat caught up a little bit before I started falling back. And then that long run, I started falling back from my tires, and we were so close on fuel. I was trying to just lift early since I'm going to be back here anyway. And at times I was almost pretty good to go on fuel, but I knew 2 people behind me pitted on a caution prior, so I knew I wasn't going to beat them. But I was then I got hit, and I got hit to put me in the back, and I got hit again to put me to the front again, so it was just a yo-yo race.
Definitely was that, Larry. Definitely had a few moments of getting the back bumper torn off from some guys out there. But man, I mean, it looked like early on you committed to that second groove, and you really made it work well. Take us through that decision, and like you said, you hung on actually pretty well too. Also with that.
Well, in the pre-race practice, me and Vincent Sora, we were side by side in practice for a few laps, and I was up top, and he had a few lap fresher tires, and I held him off for the most part. And so I knew if I was in some type of decent position in the race, if I just hit my marks right there, I could maybe hold him off. and I held him off pretty good. Then Thomas was really fast. I don't know what. I knew he was running the very, very top when he got to me, but I don't know what he was running before that. But he was making some good speed, and I was like, I don't know what lane to run besides. I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. If it works, it works, and half the race it worked.
I mean, Larry, it has been an eventful season. I've seen a lot of drivers getting upset with one another, and we saw how you got bumped around. When you're getting turned into a pinball like tonight, do you think about those moments later on in the season, or is it just one of those, well, I got the better of you here tonight, we'll see how next week comes around?
Depending on who it is, like when Thomas got into me, I knew he wasn't the type to get into people, and we've always raced great, so I just brushed it away, and we're both fine. Someone else, I'll be more annoyed, but I'm not someone to run into someone again anyway. I would rather take care of my car also to finish the race, and yeah, I was kind of shocked. We had a good long run there. I'm kind of glad I did 100 plus laps in a row in practice somehow, and somewhat paid off.
It certainly did. Well, Larry, congratulations on third here tonight. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout-outs.
Definitely shout out my teammates this race: Ryan Kelly, Chris Stitz, Cedric Hunter, Jared Talmadge, and Joshua Sawyer. And shout out my sponsor, Thunder Valley Seal Coat in Bristol, Tennessee. Call 276-791-7962 for a free quote. Shout out to you guys as always for broadcast. I look forward to seeing the wild race from the third person view. And I think Chicagoland next week. I like that track. I like to rip my right front tire off in that track too, so that should be interesting.
Oh, we can't wait to see how you perform next week, Larry. Congratulations on third year tonight, and good luck at Chicagoland.
Thank you, sir.
As that will finish up our interviews here tonight. They certainly had its ups and downs, but at the end of the day, it was Vincent Sora getting into victory lane. As we bring up our unofficial results, the 15 gets it done, qualified second and wins, similar to how Thomas Green got it done back in season 1, where he qualified in second and ultimately won the race. Joshua Stovall going to be taking second here this evening. Biggest mover, up 24 spots from where he qualified back in 26th. Third place goes to Larry Yingling. Fourth goes to Jared Talmadge. Gavin Rogers, our pole sitter of the Blazing Fast Pole Sitter Award, gets fifth. Nick Crawford, he found his way getting bounced around a couple of times, but he'll take sixth. Seventh goes to Thomas Green, with Ethan Smith in 8th place for the double zero. Good finish for Ethan there. Joshua Kanata sneakily in his way into top 10 in 9th place for the 16. And Michael Miller finishing out our top 10. But Zach, I think a lot of kudos. That's good 11th place finisher as well, that of Mark Labertone.
That's where I was going to hit immediately as we go through the rest of this leaderboard. I mean, Mark Labertone getting an 11th place finish. Shout out to him, man. That is awesome to see for him. We talked about Stitz earlier in the race. He was running about 16th. I said he'd probably get 12th if he stayed clean. Well, he finishes 12th, so I'm happy to see that prediction came well. But as you look through the rest of that the running order, you're going to see some guys who definitely had some issues. Ryan Kelly there in 19th was caught up in some stuff, but then you see Cedric Hunter there in 23rd. Feel bad for him because, man, the same for Alex Fuller. Both of those guys looked like they had almost top 5 nights going, caught up in that incident. Same for Fonseca back there in 26th with his contact with him and Jared Talmadge. Well, in their nights, kind of, put them in a tough position. But as you see the rest of the guys, this is where you start to see the drivers who got knocked out completely of the race. And definitely some fast cars. But, man, it was one of those races where anything could kind of happen in any split second.
Yeah, a lot of fast guys. I mean, you got Alan Elwood 32nd, also Trent Jump 33rd, but 43 drivers in total attempted to race here this evening. And I got a feeling we're going to have another week of tempers being a little bit higher than they were at the very start of the season, with a couple of drivers mad about ARCA brakes, some angry about the bumps and runs that were given. At the end of the day, that's short track racing, and that's exactly what Richmond gave us. Vincent Sora, third win of the season. Certainly a fun one overall, but Zach, we head to Chicagoland and back to the high horsepower, the extra 10%. We've seen it give us some incredible mile-and-a-half racing action. I'm excited for what next week brings for us.
Oh, me too, Sam. I am super, super excited. I love Chicagoland. One of the best circuits out there on the NASCAR schedule. and always good to have it here on iRacing, even if they don't race in real life, and glad to see it back in real life too. So, you know, we'll have it. So at least we have the Chicagoland Speedway because we know how good it can be, and with especially these drivers, it can put on quite a show. So excited to see how that all works out. But man, I was thoroughly impressed with how Richmond played out here tonight, with how these guys all race each other, especially with how this car is. It is tough to pass, we see.
Yeah, it certainly was. And honestly, the middle of the pack, yes, middle of the race, it had its moments of a lot of cautions, but we had green flag pit stops, some strategy calls, and it overall was great to watch. But we're not done with broadcasts this week. We've just finished up here on Monday nights. Our next broadcast will be Thursday night with the 802, going to be the 802 Next Gen Elite Series, as they're going to be heading to Daytona, coming off of a wild last couple of weeks of short track style racing. Now it's time to see what the team aspect is with their very first Daytona Talladega type super speedway racing. And it's going to be at Daytona. I'm excited for this upcoming Thursday, Zach. I think it's a show no one wants to miss out on.
Definitely, I completely agree. I think there's going to be a great show, of course, on Thursday. It's always 8:02, and then when we come back here to Monday nights, it's always another show. It's just great to have two excellent leagues of two different cars that kind of produce almost different types of things. You know, we got the drama here on Monday nights, and Thursday nights there's not really drama, but man, the racing on track is just such a good product.
Yeah, the drama doesn't overflow into the Discord on Thursday nights, but man, there are certain drivers that when you see them near each other, you never know what's gonna happen, and that's what's you're gonna be having to come back and see on Thursday nights. But for this evening, thank you so much for hanging out with us on your Monday night. It's been a pleasure to give you the call here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. To everyone that stayed a little bit later to hear our goodbyes, thank you for hanging out. For those that are rewatching, we appreciate you coming back and seeing how the racing action went down for the Trinity Racing League. It was a pleasure to give you the call. For myself, Sam Dyer, as well as for Zach Hall and Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here for Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you so much for tagging along and seeing how the racing action on Monday nights goes down. We also want to say thank you to the amazing sponsors that help out for the Trinity Racing League. We want to say thank you to Larry Arts Production, Blazing Fast TV, SimSam, Premier Racing Setups, Orchiding Tattoo Studios, and Team Watson Racing Setups for hopping on board for the Trinity Racing League for Season 3. It's always a pleasure to see all the sponsors that are also willing to hop on board with such a great product. Well, there's been changes, there's been shakeups, but at the end of the day, the most winningest driver this season is now the 15 of Vincent Sora. It's a pleasure to give you the call on Monday nights. We will be back next week, Chicagoland, back to mile-and-a-half racing action. You don't want to miss out on that drama, because after the last 3 weeks, tonight and the last two, we know there are going to be some upset drivers. How nicely will they race till next week? You'll have to find out and see. But if you can't wait until then, don't you worry. We got you covered. This Thursday, going to be 2.5 miles of madness that you do not want to miss out on, as we head to Daytona to see how can the field survive the chaos. We'll wait and see for the 802 Next Gen Elite Series on Thursday nights for our next Freaky Fast broadcast.
I was standing, staying still, never said what I feel, and every time I took the blame, carried all this quiet shame. Cause all the pressure in my chest, I've gotta fight to catch my breath, when every step still feels the same, trying not to break. Where do I go from here? Maybe I'll disappear. If I don't try, I'll never know. I'm waiting on you. Where do I go from here? There will be no more tears. Kill the doubt, feed the fire, hear the voice inside. turn this time. They took a shot, now I want mine. You fall, I rise, I take the wheel. So this is how it feels. Where do I go